Hello, friends. What's up? Welcome in. How you doing? Slide on in. We're doing some talking today. It's a Saturday. Usually on Saturdays, we do more gameplay, we do org stuff, but things are happening. There's a lot going on. It's Invictus Week, which means special news, and I'm trying to get you some news a little bit faster than normal now. We're going light speed or whatever you call it. 12% the speed of light. Point is, we're going pretty fast. So today we're going to watch Star Citizen live together. We're going to talk about ships, ship updates, feature updates that have to do with ships. And then we'll be finishing today's stream actually with a Greenhouse podcast. We haven't done one in a little while. Give me a little jiggy. Who doesn't like a greenhouse? Greenhouse podcast, if you don't know, is our community podcast. It was monthly. We're mostly letting it rest. I think we're doing it kind of as things come up. I think we'll do one whenever there's like a big topic in the community that it seems like a lot of people want to talk about. And you know, it happens like every week, but no, really the big ones I think we're going to sit down and discuss as a group on the Discord. So if you are interested in that, make sure you're on the Discord. Go be a member, go be a little bit active, and you can come and join me here live on the podcast to talk about this month medical gameplay changes. They are changing how respawns work, and a lot of people got things to say, so I thought we would throw something together. I have some things to say. I'm still pondering and thinking. I talked a little bit about it on the launch sequence just now, which will be out on Monday, but for now I'm still thinking about it all. We are going to start today by watching the trailer for the Ursa Medevac, which I heard is an interesting trailer. But yeah, Greenhouse podcast finishing off there. So if you want to join, do join. Welcome in, friends. Hello. Another new unique name. That's a good one. I like that. Getting more creative with everyone. Zero, good to see you, Mrs. Tomato. Didn't expect you here. Happy to have you with us, though. Holston Coop. Hello, Sir Toes Gang. Arctic Wolf, Cotton, Blue Falcon, Majelvi. Good to see you again. How are you doing? How's your week? I love a returning new name. That's just the best. Welcome to Toes Gang, my friend. We go way back. We get toesy for our people. Bishop, I'm still gonna call you Bishop. Good to see you, dude. How you doing? Shaved Tomato. We got a shaved tomato in the chat. Can we hold on? What the toes? Is that a thing? We can shave? We can shave? Wow. Okay, cool. Welcome. Good to have you with us. Reese, hello, Toes Gang. Welcome in. Luna Maria, good to see you. Old Master, Alex Moore. Non-such person. Letting everybody know that the court has ruled that a taco is a sandwich. It's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? What is that? Majelvi, I'm doing okay. How you doing? Good to see you all. Allison Fem. Vale Grumby. What's up? You guys excited to talk about ships? Who doesn't like talking about ships a little bit, right? I actually much prefer the feature stuff, but every year there is, we do Star Citizen Live almost every week of the year. They've been dropping a couple of them this last quarter, but every year we have this episode of Star Citizen Live. You can see it from last year here. All Vehicles Roundtable, right? The year before that, you can find right around here. All Vehicles Q&A. So every year, they do this show. And this one in particular actually was very good. I got a lot of good stuff out of this. Tons of videos, actually. The hover mode stuff, VTOL stuff, shield stuff, just tons of info. So I don't know what they're saying in this one. Maybe it's more ship related, less features related, but usually we get some good news out of here. So we're going to sit back for the next hour and hope that that is the case. I'm sure many of you have already seen this, but maybe we can speculate and crush together a couple of references, get a couple more infos about it. First though, this one. I've heard some things about this one. We will see if those things are true. What the heck did they do in the let's go ahead and do this. There we go. What did they do in the Nursa Medivac trailer?
You're probably thinking I'm a goner. But the thing is, I've died 1,000 times. Because a regen has always been the strategy. Let's do this.
Okay.
Let's do this.
This thing looks cool. At least in this render. It looks very cool. C54, not bad. Oh, is that a 71? It is.
One more time.
How's it going? Welcome.
Hey, Holly. Yeah, that's not a great idea for a trailer. This says we're trying too hard. One of the it's not even a problem. I just like to kind of poke them about it. Everything they do that has to do with this game, like almost everything they do, has to have some little bit of combat in it. Like, you could go and look up, let's look up, gosh, what's a non-combat ship? What would you say? Give me something. I'm thinking a cargo ship. Something industrial focused. Anything. Throw it in chat. First one that comes up, I'm gonna look it up. Mole? Okay, Argo Mole, you might have picked the one. The only. Let's see. Argo Mole. What kind of marketing I think you picked the one that doesn't have you freaking you dick. Let's try a different ship. Called my bluff. You got me. Let's try the Drake Caterpillar, right? That was the next ship that popped up. Oh, I guess the Freelancer popped up. That one's going to be a dead giveaway. But the Caterpillar, let's see if this has any combat-focused pictures. You know what? It doesn't. I'm wrong. Whose stream is this? I'm getting out of here. I'm completely wrong. Bye. See you later. Stupid idiot. Just saying wrong things. We got two ships that didn't work for. All right, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm gonna go with my own my own pick. We're gonna pick the Argo Raft, okay? Because I'm already right about this one. God. Look at the you go into these pictures and you'll find straight up combat shots of ships that have no point doing combat. I know. See, now I'm staging it. You guys ruined it for me. But why does the Argo Raft have a picture shooting guns? Not only shooting guns, it's shooting guns on attack. That turret's not faced backwards. Like, why isn't this a shot of this ship running from a pirate and defending itself with a turret? Yeah? And you could just go across different ships. Now, obviously, you guys have proven that I am partially wrong about this. But I feel like there are a lot of moments where you come across shots like this or marketing material like this where you're like, why is this exploration snub ship in a dogfight? And that's what I'm getting from this trailer. Star Citizen is the most diverse game I've ever played. Why is this an action combat trailer? Why isn't this a trailer about all the different ways you can die in the verse? Overloading a rock, getting crunched by a salvager, getting a box dropped on you by an SRV. Like a bunch of weird situations. I don't know. That's besides the point. The problem with this trailer overall that other people have already pointed out is that it's basically advertising respawning as being a casual game mechanic when it's supposed to be kind of a big deal. And they've been telling, Zero State was just saying on the podcast that they've been saying this is not the case. Death of a spaceman is still a thing in the game. Death is still going to be a big part of the game. It's something you have to deal with that has consequences. But then, like, you can't put a trailer like this out. Not necessarily because it's false advertisement, but like they've always had this philosophy that all of the trailers they put out for ships, maybe they have a playlist for it. I don't know if they do. All of the trailers they put out for ships are technically supposed to be commercials or fictional pieces in the game itself. So they're supposed to be able to run on TV screens in the game. You see them in space stations. These are things that are being said in the game to the people. This isn't a super important deal, but I do think that it kind of speaks to the whole point of their marketing. And then they come out with a video that's basically telling the citizens of Star Citizen of Stanton of the UEE, hey, y'all can just keep dying and dying and dying and nothing will happen. And I think it sends the wrong message, because now who's going to join? Like nobody's, maybe a couple people will join based off this trailer. But if this kind of messaging were to persist and people joined the game based off the idea that respawning was like this cool casual thing where you just like, you die, you respawn, you die, you respawn, you get back into the game, people gonna be real disappointed. That being said, none of the trailers should be looked at as actual gameplay. Like, most of the trailers are representing a very perfected version of the game, as marketing does, and they're never that accurate. But yeah, that one's a little bit off. Yeah, the video glosses over that you're naked after respawn, that you have to get all your stuff back. That if you were going to respawn in your Ursa hundreds of times, as he's saying, you better have hundreds of pieces of armor there. Yikes. Yikesies. You like the respawn thing? In PvP, you kill the respawn base and have long PvP fights. Right, but like, see, I said I wasn't going to talk about this, man. The respawning in the game right now is not respawning in the game when it's actually complete, and they should be designing the game that's going to be complete. I understand doing things temporarily, but I think they should say when things are temporary. It would have been like if they put in a halfway answer to the star map being a problem 4 years ago, instead of just waiting until the star map was ready for what they wanted to do. Making respawn change now for the way the game plays now makes sense for now. But they're going to have, if it is just a temporary change, they're going to have a lot of pain communicating that to people who join the game during that period. If you join the game during a time when respawning feels like a no big deal kind of thing, and then they make it a big deal thing, that's going to be a lot harder, in my opinion. People too used to the fact that the game has been in stagnancy for like 10 years. Now things are moving at rapid fire pace. They can't sit back and realize CIG is finally connecting the dots. But that's a problem, though. If you were saying that CIG is finally connecting the dots, then you're simultaneously saying that they had no idea what they were saying when they came up with these ideas. Which, I think that some designs are probably a little outdated based on the way that games have changed, but they've been actively communicating something different from that. This is not the same as, oh, they're adding balances in FPS so that we can't kill each other as easily. This is like a change to game design. And I don't think it's as simple as people just not being used to change. Did they add combat sliding? I don't think so. Not yet. Not that I've heard of. They said it was planned and not temporary. I didn't see that they said it was not temporary. If they only had the person dying to bugs. I mean, my expectations for man, if you had asked me, man, I shouldn't have thought about it that way. If you had asked me like 4 years ago, what Star Citizen, if they were to make a trailer about the game and death in the game, I would have thought it was something way different than this. Because they've always been very much like, oh yeah, death is a big deal. Oh. Made a whole video about it. probably type it in and find it. I actually don't think I titled it correctly to show up. Oh, yep, there it is. This one. This is all about how Chris Roberts loved Demon's Souls and wanted to, you know, build more reason into death. And even the player skill system that people are talking about, people are like, yeah, that's so that death means is a bigger deal. Well, we'll see. Changed the game design they have touted for years, but didn't they just a couple years ago make it so that it was harder to respawn? Plan not temporary thing is mentioned in this SCL. Okay, we'll see. Eventually there will be resources tied to using Bedge, which will make the I can die however many times it's okay attitude disappear. Right, but then like, why put out a trailer like this? This dude, listen to what this dude is saying.
But the thing is, I've died 1,000 times.
Like, I've died 1,000 times, and then in small text, but I've used a ton of resources, and I've gone through entire departments and whole mines trying to find all of the resources so I can respawn thousands of times. Like, that's not a great move there. But whatever. We're past that. We're over it. Dying is not fun, no matter how many times you do it. Hopefully they communicate more about how that's supposed to work soon. Apparently some done in this video. Let's watch Star Citizen live. Like I said, we usually get some good updates in this video. Let's see what they do this year. Cheers.
I don't know. They all blend together. I didn't even know. It wasn't supposed to break off.
No,
that wasn't the thing. That absolutely legitimately happened. And that reaction was very real.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. What are we doing? Hi, welcome to Star Citizen Live, the Invictus All Vehicles Q&A. I'm your host, Jared Huckabee. If you've never seen an Invictus All Vehicles Q&A before, it's where we spend about an hour and we put questions to the people who make the vehicles and spaceships and never a jalopy, still not a jalopy, for Star Citizen and Squadron 42. This is going to be our chance to get to know who they are, get to know how they work. We do this every year for Invictus. Some of the information will be the same, some of the information will change. We compare notes with last year and see how the process has evolved. Eventually, at the end, we'll get to some status update stuff. We did put up a thread, and the thread was almost entirely, where is my spaceship? That's not what this show's about, but we'll do some status updates at the end, so you can stay tuned for that. Or if you're watching on YouTube, just skip past. We'll put a little whatchamacallit on.
No.
You can ignore all the good learning that we're going to do and just get to where's my
I
spaceship
hate learning.
for you.
Sucks.
So joining us on the show this week, let's introduce our hapless victims. I mean, my close personal friends. Starting with the chair closest to me, Ben Curtis. Tell everybody who you are and what you do for Star Citizen.
I'm Ben Curtis. I am the Vehicle and Weapons Art Director for Star Citizen. So I look after weapons and spaceships, make them pretty.
Are you still doing weapons?
Still doing
You
weapons.
hand that off when you took over vehicles?
No, still doing both of them.
So why neither are quite as good as they could be?
Probably. Yeah. Do lots of things okay rather than anything really well.
All right.
Yeah.
Sitting directly behind him, Mark, the voice of Hercules. Tell everybody who you are and what you do.
My name is Mark Gibson. I'm the lead vehicle content designer at Cloud Imperium Games.
And what's a lead vehicle content designer do?
I design content for the vehicle team. We design the actual ships that everyone likes to play with. We decide what goes on them, how strong they are, what the role is, how thin the armor should be, how thick the armor should be. We do the general design.
He said armor.
So when a ship comes out initially very good and then it gets nerfed afterwards.
Oh, you talked to Towler's team about that.
Towler?
Yep.
Okay. Corey.
You also actually set the ships up as well, not just...
I mean, we make them, yeah. We
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
just
yeah.
design them, we actually
Yeah.
implement them,
Yeah,
make them.
actually like making the stuff.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry, no, it's all right. It was your time.
You're
Just
underselling
underplaying us.
yourself, mate. Yeah.
Over.
You want to spend your introduction?
Man, you know, I don't think we've had an Invictus Week Star Citizen Live that did not have John Crew on it. This man always getting out here. Also, big shout out. Glad he's doing okay. He had a pretty gnarly medical emergency earlier in the quarter. Good to see him up and, you know, doing all right. Hopefully he's not in too much pain, but always glad to hear him talk because usually when he's talking about ships, it's important stuff. It should be good.
Showering Mark with praise. Go right ahead.
He does this all the time. It's fine.
Yeah. I'm Corey Bamford. I'm a senior lead vehicle artist on the vehicle content team. So basically just helping the vehicle artists, basically day to day and trying to sort of get our stuff together and, improve things and that kind of stuff.
Did you say senior lead?
Yeah.
Because there's senior and then there's lead, and now you're a senior lead?
Yeah, I think they're just making up titles at this point.
How long have you been here?
How long have I been at the company?
Yeah.
8 years and a bit.
I've been here longer than this guy. I want to be senior lead.
You need to talk to your boss, mate.
Hey, Chris, now you watch the show. Senior lead.
No, you got to pick up.
Whatever the heck I do.
You got to pick up the red phone.
And then last and certainly least, John Crew, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm John Crew, I'm the vehicle director, so I have the pleasure of looking after all the teams. So all
Yeah,
the
I guess that's why
designers,
he's
all the
always there.
artists,
He's the director of it all.
tech artists, all the people that make spaceships and vehicles, not just in the UK, but in the US and Montreal as well.
Yeah. Disturbed Angel says, Jared, aren't you the only person who does what you do? Yeah, that's why I don't get a...
He's senior sass. Senior public sass.
All right. So we're going to jump into the questions. Our first section, our first topic of discussion for this week's show. What are you looking at, Corey? You just looking at me on the monitor?
I was looking at the chat, actually. I'm sorry, I shouldn't do that.
I said, don't look at the chat.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Don't look at chat, man.
Destroy your
Don't do it.
I was just wanting to see if they were saying nice things about me.
I promise
you
chat
looked at
has
Twitch?
never said anything nice about
That guy makes terrible
That's not
ships.
true. Chat, if you want to say something nice about Corey, take this
To
moment.
be fair,
So-
he did get the best in-game character creator.
Oh, yeah, I
Dawn,
really like
Yes.
Dawn, Ben.
Apart from yours, obviously. But
I saw some mixed Jareds, to be honest.
okay. Oh, I saw an amazing Corey.
You're of course referring to when the character creator first came out and people were doing the things.
Yeah.
Somebody attempted to do everybody on the ship team, and Corey's look bore a striking resemblance, perhaps not to
You
Corey,
will destroy yourself.
to a fictional ruler of a fantasy land.
Quite possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel, Corey?
I mean, I've been actively pursuing the Lord Farquaad aesthetic for a while, so I mean, it's good to get the recognition, really.
Plan for mate.
Yeah, I'm all right with it.
When we did
Happy
talk
to
about
get that
the
rec.
Farquaad outfit and showing up here, we forgot.
Yeah. Did.
Next time.
Let's do it.
All right, so we've dillied and dallied enough. Let's get
Video's
into the
quiet?
topics of discussion. The
Man.
first point area of discussion for this week's show is basically how vehicles get made. We're going to talk for a little bit on the YouTube channel. I should say how vehicles get made here. We're going to talk a bit about the process, why, how they get made, why certain decisions are made, stuff like that, and jump into that. So let's start. We've got two artists, well, an artist and an art director, and a designer and an overall. You were originally design director, now you're just kind of overall director. But it's not just designers and artists who make the ships. So walk us through. Start with designers and artists, but take us through who makes these things.
Yeah, why is Chris Roberts making every ship personally and making all the decisions that I should be angry about? Tell me.
What are the positions? Don't shout everybody else out. Just-
Well, if we start sort of roughly in pipeline order, you tend to start with designers coming up with the briefs. Then it goes to, well, it goes around a lot of people to make sure the designers are not doing wild things in briefs. That sounds a bit odd, but we'll hear it. There's
Yeah. You got to make sure that the designers are not doing wild things in briefs. John Crew, 2024.
concept
Your
team.
designer makes boom booms. And
Yeah. Concept team makes the words become pretty pictures. Then we've got the vehicle art team who make pretty pictures become pretty 3D objects. Designers set them up, tech artists set them up, and then we've got a whole bunch of downstream and sort of upstream dependencies. If the new vehicle or an existing vehicle has gameplay people need to work with us on that to give us information, especially if it's new coming alongside a vehicle. They
See,
need to
that's the part that isn't in the ship art monthly reports. And generally, the ship art section is the only place where we get monthly updates on ships. So it's really easy to see the ship art section of the monthly reports saying good things about a ship that make it seem like it's like maybe a month, 2 months away. but in reality, they still have to pass it to these gameplay folks and a lot of the downstream folks that are doing stuff not art related. That being said, the Zeus is coming in just a few months, so that's cool.
To sort of work hand in hand with, hey, feature X is doing this, we need this from your ship, and we do that, and they go, actually, it's not quite how we envisioned it. Can we adjust things as we go?
And those gameplay people aren't on ship teams.
No.
Those are gameplay teams.
No, there's
the Torsten Lymans and the
Yeah.
and the Yogis and stuff. They're the people that make salvaging, that make mining stuff.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, it's the feature development teams, and the designer takes it from the original concept all the way through, and we liaise with a lot of different departments and teams to make sure that all of the features that make the ships fun to play actually work when they're implemented on vehicles, because it's a very different experience of how something would be with FPS ground and how it then needs to be implemented on an actual vehicle to work. So there's a lot of back and forth, and maybe things change and tweak to make it work a bit better with a vehicle, because it just depends on how the original gameplay loop was envisioned to work.
Yeah. And I think
There's a freaking dead ant on my desk. Guys, we're so sick of living in this house. It's ant season again. If you don't have ant season where you are, it's when all the dozens of colonies that live under your house start to spew ants out into all the cracks of your walls and yard and the car and apparently our computer desks. Sorry.
we say
God.
that we've got upstream teams and downstream teams, but then one of our upstream teams, like the feature team that developed mining or salvage, probably is a better, more relevant or more recent thing, is they also have dependencies and upstream teams. So they'll have input from the UI team and the branding team and whoever else to get their feature working. And then we kind of supply them, so we're kind of downstream to them, but it's kind of
A big
everyone's in the middle
web,
of
a big
themselves.
web of connected teams.
My understanding is that the branding team sometimes tells you what colors a manufacturer should be and should not be.
We have discussions over it, yeah.
How does that make you feel?
Passionate discussions.
Yeah, I think it's good to get these things ironed out. And
They're building like the actual industry standard for building spaceships in a video game, and I wonder how valuable that'll be in the long run. Having that workflow and knowledge and just systems and teams set up. Imagine, I don't know, movies or other video games like want to outsource work to CIG. Be like, can you guys put a ship together for us, please? Thanks.
in the open. So yeah, I think to be fair, they've done a really good job at bringing all of the like. I think everyone is a little bit guilty sometimes of zeroing in on the details of one particular thing. So we tend to have years that are quite heavy in a particular manufacturer. So when we have a year that's quite heavily in a particular manufacturer, we tend to kind of zone in on that. And you sometimes
Sometimes you desperately want to do something different, and the brand guys are like, well, that doesn't really work with that.
Yeah, no, I mean they're pretty flexible. I think the biggest one has been the Crusader stuff, where the red and the blue, or the red and the white and the blue and the white and that sort of stuff. So getting those things kind of more consistent across the game is.
It started out as the
good.
red and the blue, and now it's moved to the
So it's a bit of a story. So I don't know if now's a good.
the red and the white. It started out with the red and the white, and then it went to the blue and white. But then I noticed the Firebird looks red and white. And the first time I saw the Firebird,
thing
I
is-
thought it looked like Crusader.
But you can't
Yeah, I
There are a lot of
actually,
nice
whoa,
colours.
wait. I just realized I haven't even watched the Inside Star Citizen with the Firebird yet. If we have time, we'll have to do that after this, but it's already looking like I got to get going. Let's go.
Yeah, we have a lot of grey ships, and you can't say grey ships are like some colours. Like Argo's orange. Does that mean we're never going to make another orange ship? I don't know. I don't know.
Like orange tints for
Like,
the ships, I guess.
You get red Fords, so you get red Ferraris. So, yeah.
Oh, I'm for it. I'm. We've had these conversations before. Where I'm very much for the, when the new Ford Mustang came out, I think it was the Charger that was technically first in that, and then you saw all these other manufacturers go, oh, we can do that, and you saw that one design from that manufacturer start to replicate out to other manufacturers. I think they absolutely say, well, I want to be like, we need our answer to that, and I need our answer to that. So the manufacturers should divide and then converge and all that kind of stuff.
But I think
looks.
I do think it's important that as we've mentioned many times that lots of teams work on lots of things at once. So if you can bring all of that stuff to kind of be coherent, it's really good. But that doesn't mean there's not flexibility in it, because not every Crusader captain pilot wants a white ship, and why should they?
I love color. I'm always for the more colorful things.
Yeah, let's talk about ship colors, huh? That's a fun topic.
Obviously, the audio folks play a big role in the ship's personality, identity.
Yeah.
VFX huge as well because it gives the ambient effects and everything. We get help from lighting team as well, so that they do some standardization so that we get a better feel on headlights and like the intensities of them. We recently had a massive pass from them, so they set new standards to make sure that we had nice consistency amongst all the headlights. There's barely any teams that we don't work with one way or another eventually.
Yeah. Even on like once the vehicle is done, ready for release, then there's all the teams that deal with actually getting it out the door. So there's the platform teams, the website teams,
The
QA.
inordinate amount of QA
Sales.
time that gets spent on them to make sure, because right, at the end of the day when it goes out, people start using them, they want them to be in the best state that we can get them, so trying to find all the issues and bugs and resolve them and get them just to be as good as possible for the release.
My favourite team is the marketing team because they take our stuff, they just make it really, really pretty. So
Yeah.
Not a fan.
you're not. Oh,
Not a fan of marketing.
I feel
I love like you give it to them, and you're not quite sure what you're going to get back. in the trailer.
I'm gonna assume marketing is probably the least celebrated team when it comes to ships, but maybe my opinion's a bit skewed. I think they put out some bangers. I will say that. Like, I think there are some very good videos and very good things that come out of marketing, but man, they miss hard sometimes.
And then you kind of get the initial cut, and you're like, okay. And then
I
you
don't
get
know.
like,
There's days I feel like marketing, days I feel like community, and there's days I feel like editor of the school newspaper. And I'm kind of out here doing my thing. But
so I'm probably not supposed to say I've got favourites, am I?
yeah, you have favorites.
Okay.
I have favorites. I love the Genesis Starliner.
We know
I
the
hate
what?
the Rock DS.
Hey!
The Rock DS is stupid.
Why don't you like
I've
it?
got 6 questions about the Rock DS and why
What
that
don't you
happened.
like about it? What don't you like about it?
We don't got time. We don't got time.
Okay,
We
all right.
don't got
We're
time.
not got time for the Rock DS today.
Can of worms.
All right. So obviously, what
Can of
we've gotten
worms,
here, what we can take from that is that ships are made by far more than just the people that are on distinct vehicle teams. You don't have individual VFX artists. You don't have individual audio folks. It's your team working with a vast network of other teams. You look like you were about.
I just like. We also got to shout out production because they're the ones that make all of these teams work together, and quite often because they're not actually clicking a button and moving stuff around in the editor, they kind of get maybe forgotten about. But yeah, they're a massive part of it as well, is making sure that all works together.
Who's your favorite producer?
I'm not allowed to say.
Interesting.
Yeah, they're like children. You got to kind of favourites.
That was always my mom's
whichever
favorite
one you
kid.
don't answer for is going to make things worse.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can't decide who's going to come through that door first.
Yeah.
Marketing or production.
Just expect our calendars to be completely booked moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, all your timeline's going to go to hell now. This was your chance, and you didn't take it. Sorry.
I'm
Sorry. No,
not
sorry.
prepared to answer.
All right. So obviously, let's bring this back to within the vehicle teams, though. So there are a collection of people who are dedicated to this. The VFX people have this, and the VFX for the rest of the game. Audio people have this, and audio for the rest of the game and stuff. For the people who are dedicated, the people who spend all their time making vehicles, we've got 5 studios around the world. How is this broken up? Well, where
freaking
are their
nuts.
teams? What's their makeup? Do they have focuses? Do they have does Montreal only work on this and Austin only work on this kind of stuff? How's the vehicle team breakdown?
So generally speaking, the way we assign it is no one studio site has any particular manufacturer, but we'll do it by project. So if let's say we were going to make, I don't know, the Crusader jalopy, we would
No.
let's say it, not that do.
Don't
Let's
say that
Let's say.
So
He said it.
we would
Theoretically.
figure out how long it was going to take by doing an estimate. Once we had a general estimate, we'd see the resources and bandwidth, but generally it would try and stay within a single team. So it would either stay within the Montreal team, and the design of the Montreal team would handle it, and the artists would take it through. Obviously, not all studios have all the teams that we need, such as audio and VFX, so we'll have to go to a different studio for support for that. But for the actual internal vehicle team, we try to keep them local to the actual studio. So they all get, it's a lot easier to work within the same time zone for quick iteration on things. and the UK team, for example, is much bigger than some of the others. So we actually have the vehicle team from an art perspective, split into 3 separate groups to make it easier to manage the different vehicles that we're taking through the actual pipeline process.
I wonder if they're going to further consolidate over the years into the UK, or if they want to try and keep all these sites open. I know they've started to slow down Los Angeles and move some of that stuff over to Manchester as well, but it seems they're definitely going to stay in Montreal, right? Turbulent's a big base there. And I imagine they want to keep at least one studio in America. That'd probably be Austin. I don't see them closing Germany either, but maybe they would do that. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what their plans are long term for the studios. They just moved into a new building in Germany, so I guess that's long term. But I wonder if they want to keep consolidating to Manchester over time.
And the vehicle team's gotten to the size from an art perspective where we actually need 3 different art teams within the UK side to do it.
Yep.
But generally speaking, it's not. I know that in the past people used to think that, oh, the US do all of the RSI ships, I think it was, and the UK do all of the Drake ships, but that was just what was assigned to them at the time. And it'll be like that moving forward. Yeah. It's whatever time slots we have on different teams, and it could be that we change, one team might work on a big ship for 18 months, and then big ship is tiring for 18 months, so then we do smaller projects afterwards, and the big ship goes to a different group instead.
Yeah. Doing back-to-back capital ships is, obviously
crushing.
Welcome everybody, thank you for coming in. I think giving people a variety of manufacturers to work on is important.
Stronger Dong, thank you for the raid. Appreciate you. Welcome in, folks.
Only making anvil ships for like 5 years, you're obviously going to get pretty bored of anvil ships. So I think it is nice that people get the opportunity to work on different manufacturers. Yeah. From an artistic standpoint, like keeping it fresh, challenging yourself, with learning new styles, basically.
We've got a whole section we're going to move into where...
Yo, mods, we got a Toes Gang raid. There we go. Thank you for the shout out. Welcome in, everybody. How you doing? We are currently reviewing some Star Citizen news. We're doing a little Star Citizen live watch through, getting some news on ships, features that have to do with ships. Usually a pretty good show, and it sounds like they've got some good things to say. After that, we're going to be doing a little community podcast here about medical changes to Star Citizen, how that's changing gameplay, design, how we're feeling about it. A little bit of drama. Stick around if you're interested. Thanks for dropping in. Hope you had a good stream playing some Star Citizen, dude. Appreciate you.
It essentially boils down to why. Why do you do this? Why do you do this instead of this? But I think what I'd want to make sure that we get this here, because we're touched on it and we may not remember it then. You have to keep the artists, designers, you have to keep them engaged. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an important factor, not the only one, obviously. We'll talk about all the factors in a bit, but it's very important to consider this person just did 4 Drake ships. We need to give them something else. We need to give them something else to keep them engaged, to keep them doing the best quality work that they can. Yeah. But at the same time, I'm sure, we won't say any names, I'm sure there's got to be somebody in the history where it's like, they tried a miss ship once and was like, we're never giving you a miss ship ever again. You are clearly awesome at Anvil and awesome at Aegis, but that's a style that just doesn't work with your brain. So these considerations... Is that the
Cutlass Steel story?
No, I think you're absolutely right in that...
people have favourites.
Yeah, people definitely have favourite brands, and people have brands that they just don't particularly like, which is kind of, I guess, life in general. But I think it is super important to challenge people. So a lot of people in like the creative industry really strive off of that challenge and reward. So giving people new opportunities to kind of try out new things and kind of get more experience in different fields is like super important. And ultimately if you are making the same thing over and over and over, different ships, but you're always on a particular art style, there is that element of burning people out with that, and all you really kind of get from that is like a drop in ideas and a drop in kind of creativity.
But I don't care about that, Ben. I just want my ship made.
What ship do you want?
Genesis Starliner.
All right.
No.
Come on, Ben, you know that.
The other thing,
we'll get to that later.
Yeah, the other thing is worth mentioning about that is there is a benefit to having experience with a certain manufacturer. You know, so if you've worked on a Crusader ship before, you probably understand the style. You know,
Right.
and it's going to take you less time to ramp up and to get to know it. So there's certainly.
I would hope over time they just made a ship team, and don't make them concrete like they can't change a little bit, but make ship teams for each manufacturer. That way you have these people that have a more cohesive vision of the manufacturer and, like, you know, like he's saying, familiarity with it. Change some people in and out as you want to so that you keep some variety. But it would be very cool to have one team, one manufacturer compete. And then we all just, you know, we win because they're competing. Probably lead to too many ships at one point, but it's fun while it lasts.
Benefit to, you know, people having a broad experience and being able to, like, you know, work, basically say, you know, I've worked on Drake ships, I've worked on Crusader ships, you know, that way, because we are divvying out stuff, like, you know, it's not like we've got a Drake team or whatever.
It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah, it's kind of, there's pros and cons.
There's no one.
It's a healthy balance between variety and also making sure that people have the right skills to get the job done.
So we're on this. I'm gonna jump ahead. I want to get still this topic. Let's move into the, you know, the what's going on in why phase, you know, for lack of a better term. Why do we decide what ships get, or why or how? I suppose how is actually, how do we decide what ships get made? And we touched on some things. Obviously, you know.
Oh, this will be an interesting answer.
There's got to be, you know, using this. You know, we got to make we got to make this ship, and it's in a brand, and we got one person free who knows this brand and is really great, but we've got 3 people free who know this brand and whatnot. So maybe that one gets prioritized because we can kick it out faster and then come to this. That's one consideration we sort of just touched on, but let's start from the top here.
Yeah.
How do we decide what gets made?
This is my special kind of.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're all just gonna.
This is yours.
We're all gonna piece
This
out.
is your.
So, we look at the schedule. Obviously, we know Star Citizen. We joke about internally. We have 6 quarterly patches that we do every year. We have the 4 quarterly patches, Invictus and IE, and we always deliver at least one.
Deppa. Hey, man. Good. Dude, just no chat. Just came and dropped a massive super chat, man. Good to see you, buddy. I hope you're doing well. Welcome in, man.
One ship in every one of those patches, if not 2 or 3. We also sometimes do point patches as well. So we can look at a year, so pick this year, next year, whatever, and go, right, we've got these slots, there are ships going in here. And then we'll go through and go, if we are going to do capital ships, that's going to take up a big chunk of the team. So putting a capital ship in here.
Been a little while, man. It's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. Thank you so much.
Means the rest of these slots become much smaller. We have to balance the delivering backlog ships with fresh ones as well. And it sort of sorts itself out. Once you put it's like doing a big jigsaw puzzle. You go around the edges, well, I do go around the edges, and then you know where you're going from there. So once you put a few of the big pieces in play, you don't really have a lot of options.
Sort of dictates the rest.
Yeah. And then we go through that with Chris and Rich, and they go, actually, no, we don't want you to do this cap ship here. We want it here instead. That changes the order. Or no, we don't actually want that there. We want 2 other things. So it's a lot of iteration, and it sort of boils down to we have chunks of time, a finite amount of people. We could put everyone on capital ships, and then you'd perhaps get 2 or 3 a year globally, and then we've got patches without anything.
2 or 3 ships, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're just talking about new ships as well. I think we're going to talk about this more in a bit as well. 4.0 has a huge amount of support that the vehicle team needs to deliver. So we have to factor that in as well. We can't just go all new ships all the time. We have to work with those other teams. Like the gameplay teams we talked about, they might be coming online with a feature like base building. we need to support that as well.
Don't
So
say that,
it's sort of
John.
a balance.
That one always often dictates like what we have to put into the schedule.
Yeah.
Because if it, random example, like when salvage came online, we needed vehicles that can support salvage. So we have to make sure that we can have a vehicle ready to go with that gameplay as it comes online with mining. And so
But also with that, like,
Wait.
we need like what we have to put into the schedule.
Yeah.
Because if it, random example, like when salvage came online, we needed vehicles that can support salvage. So we have to make sure that we can have a vehicle ready to go with that gameplay as it comes online with mining. And so
but also with that, like, it's not just doing the salvage vehicle, it's the fact that we need to do a pass on every vehicle in game to get them to support that feature.
Be salvageable.
Yeah, to be
Yeah.
salvageable. And even like little things like, oh, we want to, add fire extinguishers. And you're like, okay, cool, that's easy, right? Like,
Yeah.
our ships are big. And it's like, well, it's easy on some stuff, it's not easy on others. And if you think, like, we've got, I think we were doing something the day we were looking at, right, spend a month on each ship. And you're like, okay, that's one person for like 16 years. It's a lot of work, right? Or 16 people for 1 year. But again, that's,
Then you get nothing else.
you get nothing else. So I think even like little features, when you're talking at the scale of the game we've got, it does become like quite a challenge to play that kind of Jenga of stuff, which is why we have like we try and fit these things in. Like say, oh, there's a pocket of time here that's got 2 months on someone that could be used for a small ground vehicle, or we could actually tick off support for 3 other features that are coming in.
Right.
And that gets more gameplay. So,
And you've been saying features like Zealeth Gamer in the chat. Hi, Zealeth Gamer.
Hello.
To be honest, they do miss though sometimes. Like the 400i didn't need to come out when it did, and they for the most part have gotten better at it. Definitely much better than they were pre-2020, I'd say. But there's still this feeling of, oh, you are adding that to the game. Cool. So in the next couple of patches, we should expect something that kind of supports that or makes that better. This happens, I think, mostly with ground vehicles. We just keep seeing ground vehicles and not really a quick expansion of the gameplay that would necessitate them. And I wish that was something that they brought up here. Maybe just talk about the fact that like they do want to bring in ships not just along with the gameplay that is associated with them, but in advance maybe of things that are expanding. Like, wouldn't it be nice to have gotten a cargo ship in 323 that we saw then get good use out of 323.x or something? Like the Raylan? I don't know. Little feels.
If we won't have anything, a capital ship would be a huge feature. Not really. A capital ship is not a feature. That's a big, giant
it does,
piece of art. It uses game features.
yeah,
like
and it
Resource
delivers
Network and
interesting
stuff.
gameplay.
well, it's not even just like
Bro, Magelvi just dropping 10 memberships, man. Folks, YouTube, what are you doing? Much love, man. Appreciate that. Thank you. very much. I'm going to make sure this doesn't play over them talking.
although it is a huge piece of content, it isn't a feature. And the thing that will make the capital ship engaging is all different features, but we can't easily implement a whole new feature that's meaningful and impactful on only one vehicle, because realistically for it to work, there's going to be things that are going to affect all the other vehicles as well. So Resource Network is a random example. To make Resource work, we can't just say, well, this one ship has it. It's a big, huge system, and to get that to actually work across the board on everything, we need to do at least a base level support across everything, which is a huge amount of work. But if we want that feature and everything that comes with it, we have to go back and adjust and alter all the existing ships to at least work to function with the feature.
And that's that's not to say that we're not punting all capital ships down the line. Wait till we get to the end. We'll have something for you, I promise. But it's important to remember that you guys don't make the gameplay features. So
Zeppa, 18 months, man.
Yeah.
We were guilty. We've talked about this before, so I'm not admitting anything we haven't admitted. We have been guilty in the past of kicking vehicles out that don't have gameplay.
Staff error.
It's like well, here it is, because it was art complete.
Yeah.
Because you could technically fly it around, and it's like, well, we didn't want to sit on it, but we didn't have gameplay with it, and that didn't.
Buddha Maria.
It
Was it member time?
I mean, I'm not going to say we have learned a lot.
Appreciate
over,
y'all. Thank you.
12 years of our development. That was one of the lessons I think we learned kind of the hard way. As we kicked out ships that were gorgeous and they were designed well, they didn't do anything because the relevant gameplay system wasn't there. So
Reclaimer.
as part of this calculus of figuring out what ships we make and when, there's also that, well, what can the gameplay teams give us at that, at that, can they support this ship with their schedule and their requirements? And if they can't, well, okay, maybe that ship doesn't get made this year, it gets made the next year and stuff like this. So there's all those things you said in the calculus. It's a very complex system of moving parts and finding windows and priorities. And that's my next question, is priorities. So over the years, I think
y'all just weeing in YouTube chat now. C McD Walgret, thank you guys.
Of the entire game change.
Toes game.
One year this is the most important thing, and then the next year that's the most important thing, and so like that. We read the same Reddit. We read we watch the same YouTube videos. We look at the same Twitch streams. We see the things and go, oh, and we go, okay, no, that was a third priority, but really I'm looking at this, I'm seeing it in action, that needs to become second priority or first priority, and we change. Right now in this minute,
thank you for the super chat, Luda Maria.
Monday morning,
Big we.
What is the priority for the ship team? For the ship teams,
Jaybird, dude.
What are,
thank you, man.
What are you wanting to do?
I mean, I think that varies depending on which department you ask. Because, like, from a designer perspective, our number one priority is to make sure that the ship, it makes sense from a flow and navigation point of view, and that it functions, and all the features inside the ship that are currently available to function. So if there's a gameplay loop or there's content that should work in it, they do work. That's our priority. That's our number one. And to make sure that when you look at the ship, it makes sense for it to be that way. But that's not art's priority. They have a different set of priorities for what we do, and it'll be the same for tech art. They depending on the department, depends on what your number one priority is. And John's will be
thank you very much.
Again, because you're more about the bigger picture rather than...
Bigger picture, so the vehicle team exists, like, vehicles are the heroes of this game. Like, that's the best analogy that people keep saying. Like, in other games you have your hero character.
Glutrino now blessing Twitch. Y'all with your Wii party and your subs. Thank you for the subs, Glutrino. Appreciate you passing those out to the good 5 lucky folks over on the Twitch on the purple. Appreciate you, man.
Characters, sort of ships are those for Star Citizen, I feel, in that everyone's got their favourite, and they're there to do mechanics. So for the vehicle team, it's delivering content that supports those mechanics, whether it's updating existing mechanics like we talked about before, adding in salvage, and refueling was another one that was, there's no point just putting a refuel port on just one ship for the Starfighter. We need to do it on all of them, and that takes time. And working with those other gameplay teams to go like, hey, patch, the Quarter 2 patch is going to bring this feature online, so we need to update ships with that. Q3 is going to be this, Q4 is going to be this, Q1 next year is going to be this, Q2 next year is going to be this. And sort of getting away from what we did in the past, like you mentioned, of just punting the ships out just because they were done, and working with the other teams to sort of... It's great seeing a ship out there.
Thank you very much.
It's better seeing it out there doing the job it was supposed to do.
Reese, man. 20 subs! Holy crap, did we reach a goal or something? That was a cool noise. Bro, guys. What is this today? What is this? Who? This is Tomato, what'd you do? Much love, y'all. Thank you. Appreciate you. Today is it's a blessed Friday. The sun has blessed us. Gotta hit those goals, man. Thank you. Much love.
Where on the list of priorities would you place wee-woo lights, Ben Curtis?
We got wee-woo lights in chat, Jared.
That question to Corey.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, crap. It's Saturday. You're right.
Lights were
I'm used to doing my podcast on Fridays.
Stop it going out. So we
You're on
were...
about the lack of wee-woo lights on the medevac, right?
Yeah, yeah. But...
You said it, not me.
So I was pro...
I think we were all pro wee-woo lights.
The schedule was not.
However, I have read some feedback on the discussions over this, and I'm maybe thinking that if we were to do them, we certainly need a better way of controlling them, because I believe that they can be a little bit intrusive if you're trying to be maybe a little bit more stealthy.
That's the goddamn point, Ben.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, you want people to see your
But-
wee lights. That's why you have wee lights.
Yeah, but if you need to put your headlights on so you can see where you're going.
That just use your wee lights. They let you see even better.
Greeny,
I think
there's mixed.
brother, what is this? What man? You forgot to say wheat. No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much for the super chat or the sticker with the person jumping up and down. Y'all have picked a day. It's a certain kind of May Day. Much love to you guys. You're awesome. Thank you so much.
Feedback what I was reading. But no, I wanted them.
You show me who says that other stuff.
All right.
I'll stop your mixed feedback.
Okay.
Yeah.
They'll never speak about anything ever
Yeah.
again.
To be clear, we wanted to put them on. It was just a schedule thing.
Yeah, it's a matter of time. Like,
Yeah.
we needed to get the ship out.
Are,
There's
are
other
you
stuff
going
we
on
wanted-
record that it will get wee woo lights at some point?
Do a Dan McCabe and promise the carrot blush.
Yeah, just
I learned from Dan's mistakes. And
after Dan does the Carrick blush.
I would love a wee woo beacon that I can chuck down into deep caves and watch fall and light up
Thank
those
you very much.
walls and stuff. Oh my god. Oh, my brother under the sun. What are you guys?
Thank you very much.
Yo, Pedro. And Warren just became a member. Can I just say to anybody who is becoming a member or a subscriber today, because clearly there are a lot of people joining the club. I've got exclusive videos for you. You can find them right on the YouTube front page. If you're on YouTube, on Twitch, head to the Discord. We'll help you out. But exclusive videos every month. That's the biggest thing you're getting besides the emotes and stuff. Thank you so much, guys, for gifting. Holy crap, Doctor. Much love. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Y'all wild. Absolute mad lads and lasses.
Thank you very much.
I think,
Oh my
I think
God.
everyone wants it to have wee lights.
Thank you very
To
much.
be honest, I think
The team wants it to have
yeah,
wee lights.
the exterior needs a bit.
Brother, I'm never going to get through this video. Just dropped another 10 subs. What the hell? What? Thank you guys.
Of a pass anyway with things like damage and so on as well.
Yeah,
like there was a couple of things that we wanted to get in for it that we didn't quite manage to get in time.
Echo.
Well, it's
We only had one guy working on it, and it was sort of his first project as well. So
it's what happens when we do
one guy on the art team.
variants of older vehicles. So like obviously to release the vehicle with the new feature, because obviously you've been getting asked for the Medivac for years.
Yeah.
We found a slot where we could get something in to do it, but we didn't have a slot big enough to completely gold standard the base Ursa, because that's what it is. It's a variant of the base Ursa, so that's why the front is still the old style dashboard. It's not new and updated like the Lynx's is. It's we
Jesus.
have so much time and we get as much.
Isno. 5 memberships on YouTube. Depot, what did you do? A waterfall, man. Holy crap. And then Echo just keeps dropping 1 or 2 bits on Twitch. Thank you guys. It means a lot.
Wow.
Y'all are wild. Wow, indeed.
Done in that time as we can, but at some point it's a case of either nothing goes in that slot or something else goes in that slot, and it was a case of we could get what we did get in, but not everything that we want. We would have loved to do a full gold standard on the Ursa, but that isn't the time slot that we had. And if we did do a full gold standard on the Ursa, we definitely wouldn't have had time to do the Medivac. So it's just about seeing what we have time to fit in the slots that we have.
And,
See-
and, you know, I don't want the lack of wee lights to distract from how good a job Paddy did on the.
Oh, it's really cool.
I gotta say too that the Ursa, like the Medivac, this is what I was saying before. Now I want to see gameplay that actually is saying we need the Medivac, right? I don't want it to just be a respawn spot that I keep in my ships. I want to see a reason to be driving a medical vehicle out there for some reason besides just like sandbox stuff. Walgrit just dropped another 10 members on YouTube. My man, Walgrit, you've always been around here, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. Adam becoming a carrot supporter over on YouTube. You guys, Echo dropping 2 bits. Cotton with the 2 subs and Wildcat with the sub over on Twitch. Thank you guys. Appreciate you. They said Medivac and got your hopes up. Then it's the Ursa and nice but wrong Medivac. Yeah, we were hoping for a Terrapin Medivac, right? Give me that Terrapin search and rescue, please.
Yeah.
Like, he smashed it. He absolutely smashed it. So, yeah, there was a few things we missed off, but hopefully people will appreciate what was included.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Let me go on record as saying I'm having fun.
Oh,
with that.
Rycops with 20 members. How did I miss
great
that?
addition.
Dude, what? How did I miss that? Oh my god, guys. What happened today? Is it December? What is going on? Jesus. And then Echo with the 3 bits. I can't with you, Echo. How you blowing us all up like this? Dude, thank you guys. And Walgrit's 10 right before that. I thought I mentioned Walgrit's 10. I'm losing track, y'all. There's too many green shapes on my screen. I'm not used to that. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Blessed be the Saturday, I guess. Ali and Jotun, welcome back. May have been lurking, may have not. Thank you for 38 months. Sub to the channel though. Holy crap. Wee woo. Indeed. The garden blossoms, guys. Jesus.
We'll with the medbed changes. And
Thank you very much.
Talk about it in a little bit. But yeah, it's just I'm American. I want butter and syrup on my pancakes.
We did put.
TK just dropped 5 subs in Twitch, getting us on the hype train. It says.
That was cool. When the gameplay guys got that, they literally were like, "Oh, cool."
Yeah, so we're learning.
I'm just sad we didn't get a chance to do the NHS ambulance skin on it.
I love that skin.
Yeah. Did anyone know we never released the NHS skin, did we? Oh,
That was the only time I was really been scared for my job.
Well, I mean, I'm from America. If we run away from ambulances because ambulance comes at you, you're gonna go broke. So it's like, no, stay away.
I know that story.
yeah, you do.
We will emote when. Gotta ask Mrs. Tomato that one.
Last point on this topic of why certain vehicles get made. Let me drill down specifically to one caveat. I want to ask the question because we see it everywhere. Why do sometimes we choose a new vehicle over something from the backlog?
Uh-oh.
A lot of time, it does generally come down to size and like scope.
Size does matter.
And it's gameplay as well. A lot of the new vehicles come with new or updated gameplay, and it's a lot more time efficient to do that in a new
Thank you very much.
than it is to go look at one of the old backlog ones, which probably at this point needs a concept pass as well. Concepts are another finite resource that we need to manage.
Doctor, did you just drop 11 more subs on Twitch? You should be outdone. Dude, you already did so many. Holy crap, man. Come back in and then Echo, of course, with the bit. Echo, getting the claps in, the applause. Thank you, Echo. Appreciate you, dude.
Not that we want to never do those backlog chips. We do. They just come with a larger cost than all the things we've learned over these years.
Originally designed
Thank you very much.
older metrics with older ideas, older processes.
Well, look at the Carrack as a prime example, right? The original concept, the interior did not fit inside the ship. To try and get everything inside that ship, it was never going to happen. So we either cut scope on the ship or
found an extra bit, huh? Y'all getting territorial with this? Is this an ego thing? I'm kidding. Thank you for the subs, Aaliyah and Jotun. I hope you guys are having a wonderful, wonderful May. May is beautiful when it doesn't unexpectedly rain while you're trying to move your fridge.
So we either cut scope on the ship or
we had to take it
increase
back
its
to
size.
concept,
Yeah, so it had to go back to concept, but then the concept artists have a situation where they're trying to preserve the old ship while also add everything that's needed. And
What ship is he talking about?
Arguably more difficult than doing a fresh concept, and we do want to get the vehicles out with the new features, the small gameplay loops, and it's not that they're never going to get done, but certain time boxes, especially if a gameplay team says, we're going to have this feature ready for this quarter.
Hold on, what are these messages? Found some under the bed. You found a bit in the sock drawer. Little weird, okay. Lore Master, you found one underneath a crusty, diseased sock. You guys should clean your socks more. It's gross.
We want to try and have the vehicle ready to go, a vehicle to go out with that feature.
Yeah,
exactly.
a lot of the older vehicles do have gameplay ties now. Like we've
Carrack,
sort of got through that backlog of ones that don't have gameplay
Ooh,
ties
do they ask about the MSR? Oh, that'd be great.
to them. So things like the Starliner, yes, we could do it.
But there'd be nothing to do.
There'd be nothing to do. We don't have VIP transport, or it's not VIP.
Ooh,
we
let's
don't
do
have
that.
transport missions.
Let's
We don't
get
really have
transport.
NPCs getting on and off our ships.
Let's do that.
And we'd do it, spend a bunch of time on it, and if the gameplay team hasn't done their work, it's sort of
Or if it's just not a priority for them.
yeah.
Although if it changes,
server meshing or doing Starliner.
Well, my understanding
Starliner.
from reading
Of course.
social media is that marketing just tells you what you have to do.
Marketing certainly have a say in what they would like, but at the end of the day, it comes down to Chris, Rich, myself, balancing that with what's best for the game. Like, opinions.
I don't believe it, John.
That's right. I'm realizing there's absolutely nothing I can say here that'll change anybody else's mind, so we'll just move on. Let's see. We talked about how there's a disconnect between the disconnect that sometimes exists between the ship and the ship features. So like that, I don't think we need to relitigate that. Let's talk about variants. So with the Firebird and the Nursa, do you like it when it's called the Nursa?
I love it.
Only heard about that recently. I wish we'd figured it out during the actual development, because we always nickname ships when they're going through development just because.
Small family of goblins using it as a hut?
We
Jeez.
never came up with Nursa, and I love it. I wish we'd figured it out.
Okay. So the Firebird and the Nursa are both variants of existing vehicles. Like I said, I've been here a decade now. I think occasionally we go back. Occasionally, like the Masters of Flight series, when we did 4 new variants of existing ships and stuff. Sometimes we go back, but we haven't a lot in the past. You know, it's a lot
From
of our
under the
time and effort's
fridge.
been focused on either finishing up the backlog or creating new things for new game features and stuff. We don't always just look at what we have and be like, you know, if we tweak this and tweak this and tweak this, we could get another purpose out of it. With the Firebird and the Nursa here, is this a turning point for that? Are we now looking to make more variants, to go back to look? Is this just a coincidence and I shouldn't make anything of it?
I think it's mixed really, because as we've already kind of spoken quite a lot about, is about, you know, that schedule Jenga that you've got to play to try and get, or Tetris you've got to try and play to get things into work together. It does tie into also bringing ships up to our kind of current standard as well, because a lot of the time that going back and revisiting other ships to bring them up to kind of the current standard, it's not a short amount of time. It's not a short amount of investment that goes into it. The Retaliator is an example. You know, a lot of things have changed since that ship was made, and we keep internally we're like, oh, it's like an onion. Like you take one layer off, you're like, oh, wait, no, we need to do. Oh, okay, that layer comes off, and you're like, oh, no, that means we need to do that. And like, you know, before you know it, you're kind of almost back to square one. But you're trying to.
It's the same with the whole sea.
Yeah, as Mrs. Tomato just mentioned, we may be able to move in as early as this Thursday into the new place. So we may actually be getting out of here, away from the mold, back into an actual studio. Guys, oh my God, the studio is going to be so much better. We've built it specifically for this. It is our first custom built business place and living place. So things might be changing up in the next couple weeks. Yeah, hype in the chat. Exclamation point, hype.
Limit what we did, because then you started noticing more.
Yeah, and it's about
like restoring an old car.
Yeah, but you want to retain some of its original character as well. You don't want to go in there and make a Mark II. Mm-hmm. You want to kind of like build on it. But sorry, with the variants, you know, if we're bringing stuff up to current standards and we're making a variant at the same time, it becomes a little bit easier, because you're kind of like
get more from the same one.
Yeah, like I think you were saying earlier that, you know, when people have got into that particular zone for that particular vehicle or art style, whatever it is, it's quicker, or
you're already there in the files, in the guts of it. You know, it's not too much extra work to sprinkle some extra art time on it, right?
Yeah, so I think we are getting a little bit more from money by doing it that way. I don't think, like we quite often kind of, you know, we'll see a post or we'll be chatting.
God. Echo and Lore Master are just here dropping like 1 or 2 bits every 4 seconds. And then Reese is like, okay, but how about 10 subs? Thank you, man.
And we'll be like, it'd be great if we did, you know, I want to do a
remote control Nerf turret. Right.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, you can find the registry. Mrs. Tomato made a registry. I'm sure she's going to add some kind of new Nerf gun or something. What a freaking housewarming gift.
I love how it's now
cut a bounty hunting ship or whatever it is. Like, you know, there's lots of things that we talk around between ourselves because we're like, that'd be super cool. And sometimes those things are like, actually, that'd be super cool and it fits. And sometimes it's, that'd be super cool. We'll put it in the here's a the bank of ideas that we could do when we get time, when we get to it. But you say it's a big balancing act between what the game needs, what we want to do as a team, and what we're asked to do from other departments.
Variants are a great sort of new starter task, as well as their first real meaty project. We talked about this briefly at CitizenCon, that we had lost a lot of people from the team over the last year, and we've been rebuilding. So Montreal was their first task, were the 2 cutter variants. The Nurser was someone's first.
I think Montreal's doing the Zeus
Same
now.
for the Firebird, and then there will be more. And again, they're great things to, here's an existing ship, you can see how it all works. We want you to change X, Y, Z. You get to see the whole process, get something out the door, and then you're ready for like the next big thing.
Thank you.
So
Thank you very
did the
much.
cutters, and then went on to the Zeuses. So the Zeuses
Oh my God,
would be
Doctor.
their first full start to finish, but they ramped up with the cutters.
Doctor!
That's another great point that we didn't even include in the how do we decide what ships. The idea that you can.
Thank you,
for-
man.
just a
10
great starter,
subs. Jesus.
Task for a new artist and stuff. It's
I would just add to that it's great when the ship's sort of, fairly up to date. It's the gold standard passes tend to require like a significant amount of sort of weird CIG knowledge, I guess I would call it.
Expertise.
You need a lot of understanding of how our systems
weird
work.
CIG knowledge.
Weird CIG knowledge, like just understanding really the in-depth, stuff of a ship, and how to take it apart and put it back together, right? Newer stuff, you've got like a fresh start, I guess.
That's
Or you've
actually
got
a
at
good
least
point.
something
That
more-
they have a lot of people who are building ships, but if they can't retain people who have a long running knowledge of this game, like if they slowly start losing long-time employees who have a good knowledge, probably back to item 2.0 system and 3.0, then that would make it harder for them to do the overhauls of old ships that they need to do to bring them up to the overarching standard, like Caterpillar, Starfarer, just like all those ships from 2017 and prior probably need like a lot of old knowledge to get updated. I never thought about that. And you can't have maybe you have 30 people across all the studios and ship teams, but only 12 of them actually know how to do that kind of stuff. So if those 12 people are busy with something, gold standard passes end up taking a lot longer.
Or something more kind of tidy to work with, or more up to date with our like current standards. So you're kind of building upon something that's already quite polished. Whereas if you're taking something that's like quite old, the standards have changed, the way we do things have changed, and you kind of have to, you have to know the good practices
You
to
don't want people
recognize
to
the
learn
bad kind of
the
practice.
bad way of doing things.
Yeah.
Right.
You want people to learn the right way of doing things.
Yeah, exactly.
And this is all normal stuff that happens with any game. It's just that most games
Well-
aren't open to the public during the course of their
and a
development.
lot of the times, if you go, well, to be honest, even like AAA games now take years and years, so it's not even
Holy
like
shit,
our life
Reese.
cycle is particularly long in compared to a lot of
5,000
other
bits, dude.
games that are
That's like
a third, quarter,
1,800
but a
echo
lot of the
points.
times
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, man. Thank
Thank
you, dude. Appreciate you.
processes, you lock that in. You get to a certain point in that game's development and you lock it in and go, right, this is it. We're finishing it. Whereas obviously with our game, we have the luxury of constantly evolving our tech and our pipeline processes, and you can hopefully see the improvements with the latest patch. As some of that stuff's come online, it really makes a massive difference to our player base. So we absolutely want to be at that kind of cutting edge of making the best we can.
Hey, Echo, nobody
so
beats you on the
Change
messages, man.
our
The
quality
comments.
standards change, our visual detail levels change, and we're always trying to push that stuff forward.
You mentioned the Retaliator gold standard, so I gotta ask about modularity. So modularity was this big concept we introduced back in 2015. I remember it was literally one of the first comlinks I ever wrote up as a community manager for the project way back when. We made a lot of promises back then about doing this and doing that and doing this other thing and whatever. And then 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. I mean,
2020, 21,
there's no
22,
point in hiding it.
23.
It's been forever. It's been forever.
There's so many years.
Now with Invictus, now like you said, you always add something to every patch. The modularity thing is, the fire started back up. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of modules that are available for Invictus. It's a very small selection. But is this the start? Is this a turning point, or is this just here? Take this, and we'll be back in another 8 years with more modularity. Like, what is this?
So for the most part, depending on, there's a couple of different levels of modularity. So you've got the sort of modularity you have with the MPUV, where the pod can detach and attach. We're still not there yet, but for something like the Galaxy's pods or the Retaliator's
Okay,
pods,
so there's a little hint that the MPUV is still modular, but then like, why are they selling a variant? I don't get that.
it's where it's say something you take somewhere to swap out for you. We're now at the stage where we can do that one. So ships moving forward that would have the feature will have it, and
Exactly.
all the ships, when we get round to doing the gold
Hopefully
standards of those ships, we can
Ramen? He on the noodles plan? I appreciate that.
revisit the modularity to introduce it to the ships that need it. But it depends on which version. So there is still some tech needed, but for the base level of being able to swap out the modules inside of the ship that needs swapping out, we can actually do that one now, like you see with the Retaliator right now. It swaps in, swaps out. You can get the torpedoes, you can get the cargo. It depends what you want to do with the ship. So that's working. Big shout out to the team. Got working all in time. Works really, really well.
So with the Retaliator in 323.1, we didn't have a chance to talk about it in ISC. It's the torpedo module that they've had in there. It can now just be swapped out.
Yep.
The new module is a cargo module, so you
Yes.
can turn it into a cargo ship and everything with the proper grid and everything. And then the blank base module, because if
Yeah,
you
you
have
got-
to
you
pull
got
it
a
out,
bit
you
of
have
a
to
freebie with that.
you have something to put in there.
Yeah, but it depends which one you got, right? Although people have had the loaner for a long time now, which was the Retaliator bomber, which was the torpedo variant, it depends which version they got, because they might have bought the base, they might have bought the base with all the different modules. It depends what they purchased.
Don't even get me started about the Retaliator bomber. with
So
torpedoes.
this sounds like they're going to update ships as it comes up. They're not just going to they don't just turn on modularity. This is something that'll probably get done with Gold Pass updates or something. Kind of like engineering. Maybe not Gold Pass updates, but kind of like how engineering is being updated. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to let you guys keep listening. I'm going to the bathroom.
We changed it. It's now torpedo.
Can we talk about what's next? I don't want to no win. I'm not going to ask you a win, but what are the next modules we're
I think we've shown
The dropship one
the dropship one.
Habs.
and the Habs / living quarters ones.
And then again, we've thrown around ideas about other ones. We talked about doing a hunting
Well, we talked about a bounty hunter one.
bounty hunter, like raptor cages for going to get things.
Medical one.
There's we could support a bunch
The
of
obvious ones.
different
Yeah.
like gameplay features with it. I don't think you necessarily see I don't know, like a salvage version or anything. So I don't think it's going to be a case of like all of a sudden it becomes like
Like
the
you do
Uber
everything
ship,
with
that
this.
does everything. I think it still needs to make sense as to what that vehicle's kind of role is.
actually give it a bomber, a bomb dropping module? So
Would love to.
Yeah,
I do want to touch quickly on the torpedo one, because I know there's an issue for some players at the moment who have the bomber one, that they're missing their torpedo modules. The Turbulent and Platform are looking into it. There's a couple hundred accounts. For some reason, when their pledges got converted from the old bomber to base plus torpedo module, did not get the one, but that is being looked at. So I've seen a few issue council things on it, but it's being looked at.
So let's move on to ground vehicles. It's not just all spaceships and stuff. The Pulse, certainly, changing things for bunker missions and life inside space stations at the moment. Did you tell anybody on the mission team you were doing this?
I mean, as John says at the very beginning, we send out an email to every lead and design.
It's
I'm not
new,
going to lie.
but
Yeah.
Something that I'm feeling about the Retaliator as a modular ship is like, if you were going to make a ship that had all these different modules for all these different uses, I feel like you'd make it a more universally attractive design. The Retaliator is a little bit weird from my perspective, and I don't know how well it's going to do against other ships that do the same thing and look, in my opinion, better. We'll have to see how that goes.
Team you were doing this?
I mean, As John says at the very beginning, we send out an email to every lead and design.
It's not new.
More ramen echo?
When it used to be, I remember back in the days of Port Olisar, people used to get the
PTV.
X1, PTV and Dragonfly inside the airlock,
Yeah.
and you go down to spawn your ship for the first time and someone would just be sat in the middle of the globe on it.
And the goal was to make a vehicle that could fit inside everything. And
Success.
we were thinking more other vehicles, but it fits inside everything. So
There are mechanisms that are supposed to sort of limit it and prevent it, both short and long term. Like if someone came and drove their car around inside here, the police are not going to be too happy about it.
I know that there are currently some issues with ground physics or whatnot, the Ursa bumping around or bouncing and stuff like this. Any joy for this? Any hope for this?
We just had a ground vehicle update like last year.
Somewhere between network and physics, looking at, because there's a weird update problem where, and you can see it if you have a load of vehicles next to each other, that they all sort of bounce on their suspension at the same time. That's being looked at, which doesn't happen in the editor. So this, again, sort of the experience we have when we're developing these vehicles doesn't translate one-to-one with how it is in the live product, frustratingly. People have seen that, or hopefully have seen the fix for that for AI combat recently in the recent patches, that they've gone from being unresponsive at times to probably a bit too responsive now. It's the same with ground vehicles. There's still more we want to do
The AI are very fun to fight against now.
with them. Like compared to spaceships, they don't have a huge amount of customization. We want to eventually go like upgrading engines, gearboxes, wheels, swapping your wheels out for different ones with them, so they have the similar sort of upgrade paths.
That's exactly what my next question was. Yeah.
But again, it comes down to gameplay engineers. Do we want to refactor that ground vehicle code? Because it is a completely separate code path. It's still based on a lot of the original CryEngine arcade vehicle code. Even though the wheel and tyre handling is all new from us, the underlying system is still sort of separate to vehicles. Talked with Chris a lot about just unifying them into just a vehicle system, but that requires someone to go like, rather than this line in the XML that deals with engine parameters, it's an item now that goes on and drives those wheels. So again, priorities, we want to do it. It's just engineering directors, are you going to spend your time on this feature for 10, 15 ground vehicles versus whatever else?
Are ground vehicles as big a priority as spaceships? Are they an afterthought? Like how do you? I wanted to touch on this in the prior discussion, but how do you view ground vehicles in the scope of?
I think our games. It's a whole universe, right? Like you've got planets that you need to be able to explore, and you've got space you need to be able to explore, and different players play the game different ways. So I think we need to support all aspects of that. So from my point of view, I love ground vehicles. I come from 10 years in racing games. So yeah, I definitely want to see more ground vehicles, more variety, more options and functionality. I don't think you can...
More reasons for ground vehicles, though. We really need that. Like, we're supposed to hear about Planet Tech V5 this year, and I really, really hope that one of the things they're bringing along with that is more intense weather, more intense reasons for us to not be flying around. Like, if you don't want to be in ground vehicles, don't go to planets, sure, but we can't have all these ground vehicles and not have a good, compelling reason to want to take them out. Whether it's missions, whether it's larger underground cave networks, whether it's ravines and crevices that a ship won't even fit inside of, like something, some way to restrict the way we're moving around. Make me love my Ursa. Come on. Make me want my wheels. Please.
Well, there's still space for more. I want to see motorbikes. It'd be nice to get.
At the same
Ranger
time,
bikes.
Yeah.
We're just about at the status update section. So
same time though, is because of the fact that the wheel system is the way that it is right now, we know that every ground vehicle that we make is something we're going to have.
Gravlev tank just makes me think of Battlefield 2042, and that makes me get far too excited for Arena Commander, and we're not on Arena Commander mode right now. So we'll come back to that.
To go back.
You have to fix it again.
But it's not even just fix it. The sort of rework we're talking there to change it from what it currently is to what it would need to be for this whole new system is a massive amount of work. So it's just like talking about a new feature, right? It's the same as talking about all the different modules we want to do for the Endeavour. It would be a huge amount of work to go back and change them all. So everyone we
Not
make,
just on you. You're talking about other teams.
oh
They
yeah,
have-
It's not just us. It's a feature team that has to fix the actual wheel. So that's for argument's sake, say that happens. All the vehicles that are made will need to be fixed by us, by tech art, by audio,
To
by
use the
specs,
new system.
To use the new system, and every extra vehicle we add is more debt that we're generating for that. So don't get me wrong, we love ground vehicles like every other vehicle. I mean, it is just a vehicle, but it's knowing that we are at some point going to have to go back and do this. It's
Definitely
just,
skirting the conversation that it is one of their biggest problems is the absolute amount of man hours it takes to keep all of these custom, super highly detailed ships up to date. I hope that doesn't ruin them long term. Not single-handedly ruin them, but like factor into that a lot. I hope they can figure out a way to get a handle on that.
avoiding having to have
Whenever they finish all of their major systems like Maelstrom and engineering and get their final design principles down, I do think it will slow down as they get their gold passes in and reach closer to like a 1.0 release. But there are always going to be some kind of developments that are happening. They'll have to continuously balance the ships and stuff. So see how it goes.
Exact sort of situation we had with the Starfarer, where we made a vehicle just to get it out and then had to go back and retrofit a feature into it because the feature had slightly changed from how we made it at the time.
Yeah.
Okay, so from the chat, we've had a couple questions about the medbed respawning. As far as, let me just rephrase this a little bit here. It says, did you change the medbed respawning just to sell more nurses? David, I'm gonna tank this one because this one actually isn't some for you. Let's do Space Dad Light. Do we have Space Dad Light?
Space.
There we go. Hi everybody. Space Dad here. The question: did you change medbed respawning just to sell more nurses? I went and talked to design director for Squadron 42 in the Precision Universe, Rick Porter. He was on the last Star Citizen Live. You met him along with Rich and JJ. They were the makers of the original medbed spawning system back when they were just on the actor feature team. Back then, which is about 4 years ago, their intention was for all medbeds to allow spawning, and just for some to be at this distance and some to be at this distance. That was their original intent. It didn't get in at the time because of this, that, or the other thing. It was 4 years ago. But now that they're gone to Squadron and they're back and they're now overseeing the development of the Precision Universe, it was one of the first things they wanted to bring back. And thus, they did. Now,
why did they take away spawning from Tier 2 beds? Was that just a balance thing of the game at that time, maybe? It's interesting that they originally wanted all of the beds to have respawning, but then they kind of limited the feature that way.
Obviously, like anything else that goes into the Precision Universe, it'll be tested. It'll receive a whole bunch of feedback. It'll be adjusted as necessary. Maybe 50 and 20 is too long. Maybe it's too short. Maybe it needs to be 70 and 30. Maybe it needs to be 30 and 10. And well, it's a thing just like anything else that'll be adjusted. But the one thing that they really wanted me to remind you of is Death of a Spaceman. Death of a Spaceman is coming. I'm not going to sit here and say when, just otherwise to say that it's a lot closer now than it ever was at any point in the history of our development.
Well, that makes sense.
Death of a Spaceman will introduce a whole host of difficulties and challenges and detriments to your character should you choose to respawn over and over and over again. So looking at it through the
See, okay, literally he's saying that a day after, maybe the same day that they put out a trailer that was showing a dude respawning over and over and over again with I don't know. Just a little disconnect there.
Context of Star Citizen today is, of course, natural and proper, and you absolutely should. And a lot of that feedback that we're seeing is because of how they're looking through it through the lens of Star Citizen today. But they are making decisions, laying the groundwork for Star Citizen of tomorrow and the day after and the day after. So remember Death of a Spaceman. You can still read an excellent write-up of it on the website.
It's plug time. Uh-oh.
is of course natural.
Or you
and
can watch
proper, and
this
You absolutely should.
rather outdated video. Oh, God. I don't like watching my older videos. But if you'd like, here's a video I made about Death of a Spaceman and how it came to be a thing. You save that in your little collection. I'm going to do an update on that because it is rather old at this point. I don't know when it came out. I'm not going to check. I think that must have been like October of 2021, maybe. So I hope that they give us an update on Death of a Spaceman. I think we need an actual update on why the medical stuff is going the way it is, but also how Death of a Spaceman is supposed to work if this medical stuff is going the way it is, because there's going to have to be some interesting complications and plans for responding if this is what they're going to do with it. I don't know. Never seen Paul Shelley legit mad before. What was he mad at? Oh, you found another bit in your said collection. Echo, you're so kind. Appreciate you, dude. Yeah, this is
Should. And a lot of that feedback.
it's nice to be confirmed that Death of a Spaceman is still a thing, but I don't know. I feel like they maybe don't have the medical stuff in a more in-depth place, which I was hoping they would right now. If they're looking at the Apollo, we've all seen it. The Apollo's in work. We know it. I would expect them to have a better grasp on more advanced medical gameplay right now, and it would be a great time to kind of talk about that a little bit. You know, sneak a couple shots in here about cool things coming. I don't know. Who am I? Just want to talk about cool stuff.
That we're seeing is because of how they're looking through it through the lens of Star Citizen today. But they are making decisions, laying the groundwork for Star Citizen of tomorrow and the day after and the day after. So remember Death of a Spaceman. You can still read an excellent write-up of it on the website. It's still pretty accurate. I think we're about due for an update. Actually, I'll talk to Rick about that.
Cool. There we go.
What the current intention of design for that is.
Yeah.
We have a big CitizenCon event. Maybe we'll do it then. That's not a promise. That's literally just me.
We would appreciate it a lot. It's a big one.
But yeah,
Also means
keep
they don't
that
have
in
a
mind.
update planned before
That's
CitizenCon.
coming. That's on its way. If that affects your purchase, if you don't want, just consent. Know that that's on its way before you buy, and enjoy getting back into the fight even quicker and more consequence-free for the time being. But that change is coming, so remember that. All right, let's do that. Whew.
I forgot the
All right.
lighting had changed.
We've made people sit through 55 minutes of this. We put up a thread at the beginning of the week, collecting questions from the backers, and every single one. There were a couple outliers, and we worked them into the first half of the show. But almost every question was, "Where's my spaceship? Where's this? Where's that? Where's this other thing?" Stuff like this. So we have a pretty big reveal and stuff. But I want to talk about set this up. Let's just talk about what's in the current pipeline. So that's really what it is. Because to be quite frank, if it's not in the current pipeline, if it's not being actively worked on right now, the answer is it's not being actively worked on. So we're going to talk about what is being actively worked on, and instead of sitting here for the next 15 minutes and saying, it's not that, it's not that, it's not that,
Okay.
it's not that, we're going to tell you what is being actively worked on, and you can infer that if your favorite ship name wasn't in that list and wasn't in this discussion that's about to happen, that it's not being actively worked on, and
I refuse. I refuse to accept that. No. If I have a favorite ship and I believe it's being worked on, then I will believe it is being worked on until the end of the year when I'm disappointed it's not being worked on, and I will go online and I will rage about the fact that you guys didn't release it that year and then expect it to come the next year even though you didn't say anything about it. Got it? Good.
will when we have time in the schedule and resources to tackle it. So John, Ben, whomever, no, let's make Corey do it. No.
Don't make
On the spot, Corey.
What's actively in development?
Right. So if you go back and look at the CitizenCon presentation we did, we had a sort of teaser video. There was 10 ships in there. We're, 6 months past CitizenCon now? 6
Two
months to the
ships,
next one?
two more of those ships, buddy. Which
we're
ones?
halfway through those ships now.
Halfway?
So the 5 that have not been released from that.
Oh, no, yeah, that's right. Legionnaire, Polaris, Mirage ship, unknown ship, and Legionnaire Polaris, unknown ship. Oh, Zeus, yeah.
Video. They're all in production. Yep, they're all in production now. With the exception of the Legionnaire, they should all be within that 12-month window.
What?
Legionnaire, again, is going a bit further just because of gameplay.
Hey, that's what we were expecting. I mean, I honestly didn't expect it enough to say anything, but they're still not talking about hacking gameplay. So makes a lot of sense that the Legionnaire would be the one that's missing out. That is, man, hacking is, I don't want to say it's the new salvage because it's not necessarily getting delayed, but wow, it is really, what's the name for something that is purposefully not talked about? Not elephant in the room. I guess it's kind of elephant in the room. But like, man, hacking is so evasive. It even drags ships away from the roadmap.
Teams can't support us for when we wanted to do it originally, which is fine. But there is also a lot more than that. When we did that video, people didn't know about the Sulan as well. So Santok Yai, X1s, Spirits, Hornet Mark IIs, Nursa. Nursa was in there. Firebird wasn't in there. So that wasn't like, here's 10 ships. These are the only 10 ships that we're delivering.
You guys
we're
couldn't
doing more than that on the Sly as well.
Okay. So of ships that people know about, obviously some of those ships we haven't revealed yet. We're not going to sit here and reveal a ship that hasn't been revealed on the show. But of the ships that people know about, right now, they have a name and they're aware it existed. Maybe they've pledged for it.
There's 2 from that video, and they're pretty much the 2 that people know about now. The first one is the Zeus. So the Zeus ES is coming at 4.0. We did the Lod 0 gate review for that yesterday.
Nice.
So that was the one that Montreal kind of been working away since they've kind of moved on from the cutters. And yeah, it's just passed Lod 0 gate review. Smashed it. It's looking so good. So very, very excited to get that one.
It's one of those ones that looks so terrifying.
It's going to be a very popular ship. The ES specifically, I think, will be an incredibly popular ship in the long run. Perfectly sized. Essentials is like, yeah, as when it comes to ship progression videos, which at some point I would like to do, I think that the Zeus ES is going to fit on there as like one of my upgrades around the like, you're not quite ready for something like a Constellation or a Starlifter or something like that, or a 600i, but you're past maybe like the Cutlass and Freelancer.
Finally good, you then have to go look at all the other things that and go, oh,
we showed it to Chris last week, I think it was, and he was like, it's setting new standards, and we're like, that's really, really good. It's a bit scary, but really, really good. So yeah, very, very happy with it.
So the Zeus is in development?
The Zeus ES is in development. That will come first at 4.0. The CL is coming after that, and then the MR will come a bit later.
Okay.
So the CL might be by the end of the year then.
I know we're working on a couple variants of existing ships.
Yeah.
I think Brand approved us to reveal that there's another
Sabre, probably the one that people thought the Firebird was going to be. It's that. That should be soon, TM.
Another Sabre.
Not giving dates. And then, there's some of the other recent releases will be getting some variants.
Okay. There's a lot of resource network stuff going on that's taking up a whole lot of your time.
Yeah.
There's going through and retouching every single spaceship that's currently in game. Not all at once. You've got your top 10 that you're working on.
It's going in 2 different parts. Like I was saying before, we can't partially do it. It's a whole new system for how
It's a Sabre from AMD, guys. Come on.
resources get transported around the ship, so we can't have some doing it and some not. It's straight up a redo of the system. It would make no sense for some ships to use it and some not. They just wouldn't interact correctly with each other.
Okay.
So
that's confirmation that they want every ship to be changed over to engineering at the same time for 4.0. That's a ton of work.
We've taken the most popular multi-crew ships and they have got a full resource network pass where we've physicalized all the components inside the ship, so they're all physically there. They can be opened up, you can see them, you can repair them, whatever. That's with the top 10, not top 10, it's the most popular. It was the top 10, but some of them are variants of each other, so we've just taken the most popular ones. And everything else still needs a base level pass for resource network to actually allow them to function. So it's changes to their loadouts, adding the relays, and then making sure that they actually function, because we've got to remove the pipe system. We're also using it as an opportunity, what we mentioned at CitizenCon, where we talked about why the Zeus had way more shield generators than everything else. We're actually using 4.0 as the opportunity to do those changes. So we're actually, there's a huge amount of changes.
See, that's already stuff we were talking about. This was this yesterday, on Friday. Yeah, yesterday. Already stuff we're hearing about that's coming into 4.0 that's not on the roadmap. We're used to it, but this is them already starting to talk about that a little bit. We're going to get some component balances that come with the engineering mode, which should be good for helping people understand what a ship's actually meant for going forward and comparing them a little bit more easily.
So we're actually, there's a huge amount of changes to other ships as well with their component numbers and sizes and things. The ones mentioned before, that will all be physicalized. The others, they won't be physicalized, so they'll be invisible inside the ship, but you'll still be able to change their loadouts and things. But that's not all for 4.0. We're also having to support other features that are coming online. I won't go into too much details because it's other feature teams, but it's huge sweeps across all of the ships, and we need to get all that stuff delivered, because as we've had the stuff that everyone saw at CitizenCon come down into the PU, it doesn't just magically work. We need to actually go in and change the ships to actually get them to work with that. So we did the markup pass for all of the mini maps inside the ship, so you know, get a nice map when you bring it all up. But like, this is all extra stuff that we spend time and takes resources to do.
Right. So the Zeus.
Yes.
The two of the Zeuses this year.
Yes.
The two of the Zeuses this
CL
year.
by
That's
the end of the year
easy
then.
thing. A couple variants of existing ships. Obviously, the brand new vehicles that folks can always expect to come through a thing that we're not going to spoil here. All that work going back and touching the existing ships and preparing them for Resource Network. Some of them need their gold standard in order to come up for the Resource Network. That doesn't sound like a whole lot of backlog coming. There's something big on the backlog that's taking up a lot of resources.
Maybe missing about 8 artists worth of resources.
Jeez.
What's the big thing on the backlog that's coming
8
this year?
artists?
The Polaris.
Saying it very quietly.
Yeah.
Saying it very quietly.
8 artists for that
It's a
ship?
Polaris. Like, although people have obviously seen the teasers and trailers, and the outside looks very, very nice, but that's because that's what we focused on. That one had some of our most talented artists on it to try and get it to a highest possible standard in time for the flyby and everything. Big shout out to all of our art team that's been putting so many hours into it.
I think like Alex, Dan, Lloyd, all kind of smashed that exterior. Obviously, we've only shown the exterior, or are only showing the exterior so far. The exterior, we've kind of, it technically is in grey box, but obviously visually it's far
We're not talking about the flyby in Invictus. There's a bunch of chat saying, didn't we already know that? No.
Oh, sorry. I know. We're talking
flyby
about the actual release as well. Yeah. So we're not. We haven't just made the exterior and gone.
No, we're talking about full flight ready.
Yep.
Released to the backers.
Yep.
They can fly it and use it this year.
Yep.
Yes.
When?
Which one of the camera? I'm going to recreate what we'd filmed for ISE that's now redundant.
That one. You're looking at that one.
So the Polaris is going to be flight ready, fully released at IE this year.
So IE this year, not 4.0,
Not 4.0,
but
IE.
whatever the patch number for.
That's what we were banking on, right? That's what we've been expecting throughout the whole year. We were kind of thinking a last quarter of the year release for the Polaris. One of the big things probably besides the art they're talking about is the gameplay. I'm thinking it's coming with a 4.1, December 4.1, November 4.1 maybe. Yeah, I do hope that besides just engineering and stuff, we have some compelling reasons to want to take a ship like that's that big out. Targets that fit it, situations that put it under pressure, missions that run it through its tests, and organization tools that let us use it. All that stuff I'm really hoping we have by then, but that's a tall order. So we'll see if it happens. I do have a video about the Polaris coming out, hopefully tomorrow, but possibly Monday. So I'll be going over like sort of a roundup of what the ship is, what it's made of, what it's good for, and what capital ship gameplay that it would, work into might look like.
For Invictus is.
Yeah.
And you're ready to go on record for that.
I think
What
I
happens
just
if
did.
you don't make it?
It will come out at IE.
What happens if you don't make it, Ben?
Well, he's my boss. It will come out at IE.
All right. So,
Sorry, just before. Also, massive shout out to all the interior guys as well, because we've got a whole other bunch of artists that are smashing the interior. It's not at the level where we wanted to show it yet, but yeah, they are ploughing through that work, and it's gonna be great.
It's a big ship, so a lot of rooms.
Yeah.
you'll see a bit of the interior gray box on ISC
Oh, of
next
course.
week.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you'll see the current status of the interior gray box on ISC next week.
Yeah, that's going to mess me up. I'm going to release my video, then they're doing an update a few days later. Yeah, that's how it goes.
But yeah, IAE this year, obviously that's a huge undertaking. Mark, you're going to be a meme after this week's show of just saying it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of work. The Polaris is a lot of work.
It's what, taking up almost half of the UK art team?
Yeah, just under half.
That's
the UK
crazy.
art team focusing on it.
So literally to get it done this year, that's half the UK art team on it to get it done.
We've absorbed it, as they like to say in the industry. Yeah,
That's a lot for,
You've
like, that
absorbed-
ship's, I guess it's fairly big, but not as big as some of the others.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, massive ones
Massive
actually.
shout out to Guillaume and the Montreal Tech Tools team for giving us autolods.
The Polaris
So,
does look
to
cool.
summarize for folks before we sign up, we're a few minutes over. Ships in active development. The Polaris,
Yep.
two of the Zeuses, the
Yes, and the CL.
the one start with the L, not the Liberator, the
Legionnaire.
Legionnaire.
That's pushed out.
Saber variant.
Well,
Some variants that you don't know about, and some new ships you don't know. But as far as the ships that you know about and stuff, those are the ones in active development. Everything else has no update to provide for you right now.
So they've shelved the Apollo.
That's just me being real with you.
The Apollo, the Gattac Raylan. I think those are the two, and the Origin G12 were three different vehicles that they were working on no, the Raylan they never said they were working on. They were expecting to move to it after the Santok Yai. After the Siulin. Not sure what happened with that, where that team went, but they're not working on that. Apollo they're not working on. That was being worked on last October. And the Origin G12 was being worked on sometime last year. That also seemingly is on the back burner. Interesting.
I'm being honest with you and hoping you'll appreciate it. So, guys, thank you. Thank you so much. Obviously, you've got your work cut out with you with getting the first. I know we refer to the 890 as a capital ship and stuff like this, but I feel like there's something, we can argue till the cows come home over what's a capital ship. The Polaris is going to be the first kind of, nobody can argue that that's not.
Combat capital ship.
yeah, it's got all the capital ship features that it needs to be capital.
Yeah, so you got a big task ahead of you this year. You're going to do it. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here on the show with us this week. I know these aren't always the easiest things to get through. I appreciate you taking the tough questions and allowing me to put them towards you. Folks, if you haven't, check out this week's ISC. It revealed the brand new Saber Firebird, which looks super cool, and the new Nursa. We all like that name. We're going to.
It's good, man. It's good.
When you dine it.
You trying to join GII? No, we've got plenty of room in GII. You'll love it there. If you're on the garden already, it's easy to get joined in. But if you're not, GII.app is the website you got to go to, or the one in chat.
That's coming up on at Drake Defense Con. I think I can. I already said it, so it doesn't really matter whether I should say it or not.
It's spelled now, Jared.
Yeah, it's really cool though. Like, I'm absolutely in love with it. I was just talking to Gav about it all weekend at Beacon about it. And then, of course, we will take that inside look.
Hopefully not too loudly.
What?
Talking to Gav all weekend at Beacon about it. Hopefully it wasn't too loud a conversation.
No.
Okay.
And then, of course, we'll take a look at the current inside gray box progress of the Polaris that you'll see flying around.
What ship was you just talking about?
Invictus. Come back next week. Next week's ISC is part 2 of the Invictus. We're revealing a brand new concept vehicle
For Drake?
That's coming up on at Drake Defense Con.
Oh, God.
Really cool, though.
Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Drake ships. Like, I like the Drake ships. Like, the Corsair is a really cool ship. But they're not my first choice. But dang, do they have some really, really good designs. Like, Drake has this really nice homey feel to it. This kind of clunky, comfortable feel. I don't know what it is. I look forward to another Drake ship, though.
Oh, like, I'm absolutely in love with it. I was just talking to Gav about it all weekend at Beacon about it. And then, of course, we will take that inside look.
Hopefully not too loudly.
What?
Talking to Gav all weekend at Beacon about it. Hopefully it wasn't too loud a conversation.
No.
Okay.
And then, of course,
Megaphones.
we'll take a look at the current inside gray box progress of the players that you'll see flying around at this year's event. So for John, for Mark, for Ben, for Corey, I'm Jared. Take it easy, everybody. Did you break it?
Don't know.
Okay.
Can you still hear me?
We'll see you later, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. So that is Star Citizen Live. Not gonna lie, we did not get very much great information out of that. We got to learn a lot more about the process of making ships, which is actually kind of nice because I was planning on doing a video like that sometime soon for supporters. Now I have a nice little blueprint to go by. But a lot of that was spent on the process we've learned over the years as we followed this, and less about some of the vehicle features coming in. And I realize now the vehicle features teams get to talk about that stuff more. So maybe they wanted to not step on their toes too much. Somebody actually said toes. No, somebody actually said at that point, this is more of the gameplay team's discussion, so we'll leave it to them. And yeah, you could feel that there. I did say that they've done these talks several times throughout the years in Invictus Weeks, and I'll say that those other ones generally had, I think, more of the feature talk. But we did get a little bit of information about new ships towards the end there. Some disappointments not being worked on, some interesting bits that are being worked on. I'm excited to know that the ship that nobody seems to know what the heck it is that they teased to us in October last year is in production. So maybe we'll see that with 4.0 or 4.1. But also, this live stream showed us that there are indeed things that are planned for 4.0 that we just don't know about, that are not on the roadmap roundup or the roadmap release view, and will be talked about and stuff like that more over the next few months. So overall, cool times. It was the Apollo. Do I know how many Polaris, Krakens, and Javelins are in the garden? Not in the garden, but we can track it on GII. Actually, no, we can't track it on GII. We don't store concepts. We only ask people what ships they have in game. Let's watch the Invictus Week trailer. I haven't seen it. Is it good? Oh my God, that's terrible. Jesus, that was bad. What is this?
The endless night was still and cold and vast. Yet in that moonless winter sky, unyielding they remained, tied to their mast. Forever watching, always standing by. 'Neath crushing blows, they fought on in our name. They battled bravely through endless wars. Our redemption, born of their bloody sacrifice, so that we might meet again on distant shores. It matters not whether they prevailed. For them, the cost was greater than single victories.
Oh, I love a javelin.
Side by side, unafraid to fail. their courage,
The gun models look good in this.
to guide humanity. Together, we are one empire, united in purpose.
Not my favorite. That's all right. It felt like it was going for a very heavy epic feel. I'll show you my favorite. They made the best Invictus Week trailer back in 2020. So freaking good. See, this one. Oh my god, and the sound that they give the F8 Lightning. Ooh, god, it's so nice in this trailer. Woo! You hear that? I wish the ship sounded like that in the game. Listen to that. What even is that, Anvil? Damn! Alright, yeah, check this out. This is a good trailer. I love this. One of the few times a kid shows up in Star Citizen. He's got a nice freaking view. Yeah, I really liked this one a lot. I think it's still my favorite. All right, y'all. So from here, we're going to jump into the Greenhouse podcast. It is taking place on Discord. I'll be starting it in a few minutes here. But before that, I am going to go do some water. I'm going to get some... Oh, please stop that. I'm going to get some water and all that jazz. To probably put something up here that's actually interesting to watch for you guys. How about we watch the Star Engine trailer while I am doing this, and then I will be back with you all shortly. It might lag a little bit because I'm going to be rendering everything that we... You know what? Actually, I'll probably just render that all back later because this is going to start making it lag a bunch, I think. Remind me to remux that. I will be back with you guys in a little bit. We're going to get started with the community podcast here shortly. Bye. Jeez, what a beautiful shot that was. All right, folks. We are back. It is time for us to get started with the good old Greenhouse podcast. So what I'm going to do here is hope and pray that this works. Let's see. We still don't have a overlay for this, so we're going to chill on the launch sequence overlay. And, ow! My toe. Toes. This is going to allow us to, I'm going to move this here. I'm going to move this over here. And I should be able to drag this in like that. There we go. Cool. All right. So, got some music for you. Toes. Gonzo, thank you for the sub. Folks, you guys went crazy during that stream. I don't know what the heck happened, but thank you, Depa. You started a waterfall of folks in chat. Everybody just kind of had fun with it. Appreciate you all. That was good times. We're going to get started here because we got about an hour to go. 6 minutes on the clock for each guest. We are talking about medical changes, what's going on with Star Citizen, and where the development is headed. This is the Greenhouse podcast, our kind of by demand community podcast. We do this. We used to do this once a month. Now we do it whenever like a kind of a big topic comes in. Today we'll be having some folks join us to talk about the recent medical gameplay changes that are coming in with the way that bed spawning is working and respawning and the nurse and kind of, you know, the death of a spaceman, all that kind of stuff. We've got people from different parts of the game, people who do medical beacons, people who just play FPS, people who are just following the development. So we should get some good perspectives here today. I'm going to get us started off with a regular here at the Garden, Dutchman Ace. Welcome in, buddy. Invited you up to talk. There he is. Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Good to see you, dude. Good to hear from you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, mate. Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm doing all right. Do you have any way of turning yourself up a bit? A little quiet on my end.
Is this better?
Yes, that's much better. Thank you. All right, man. We got 6 minutes on the clock. Fill my ears. Tell me what you're feeling about the medical gameplay changes.
I'm actually really liking it. No, I'm not somebody who goes on a lot of medical rescues, but I see that this will change it actually. The medical spawns on the beds, that it changes that for those who like to do that, but for the general player, I think it's great. They don't need to have a big expensive ship like a Carrack to be able to respawn during bunker missions or whatnot. I think it's a really good quality of life feature.
So do you worry about the people who do choose that gameplay as their main line, like reviving people doing medical beacons?
No, because there are still people who are not going to have the ships, and there's still going to be people that are going down in bunkers. There's just going to be less, but there's still going to be those people.
But if there already are so few, then less would be even worse, huh?
I guess you got a point there, but I do see a lot of medical beacons pop up whenever I'm playing, so they pop up a lot.
I see. Volume is very low. Okay.
High volume?
I will confirm. But keep going. So do you think that they might be planning on expanding the medical gameplay after this sometime soon? Or is this just kind of a random change like you said on Star Citizen Live, they just wanted to get it out?
Well, as I've been developing it, as I've been, lost the word.
No problem.
Can't find a word. as I've been looking into it, they already intended this to be, but never got it out the way they did now. So yeah, it's kind of changed that it brought it up with the Ursa, but at the same time, it was always intended to be this way, as I've heard. I like it. I don't know what it's gonna do for the future. Right now, a tier 3 medical bed is 20 clicks, but it might really change. I'm curious to see where it goes.
Yeah, they can definitely complicate the system through other means besides just restricting what ships there are to spawn in. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's. I'm really curious where it's going, and I'm expecting that the tier 3 bed is not gonna stay 20 clicks. I think it's gonna go way down, like 10, maybe even 5 clicks.
It would be, yeah. I'm wondering what kind of complications they'll run into when it comes to that. Like when we're testing it, what kind of system or what kind of situations we'll be in which that distance actually makes a difference. I feel like when I'm playing the game, the scale that I'm playing on is usually hundreds of clicks or 1 click. Like I'm either flying a ship and going dozens or hundreds of kilometers away, or I'm on the ground traveling by foot, maybe 1 to 2 kilometers away, and it feels like I wouldn't really be considering the ships like that too often unless I was getting in a ship and flying all the way away from wherever that respawn was set.
Yeah. What I am curious about is we know the distance for a tier 3 and a tier 2 bed, but we don't know the distance for a tier 1. Does that mean that distance is indefinite?
I would assume so. I think that's the idea behind it, in order to make sure that that is seen as the all-powerful bed. One bed to rule them all. It's got no range. Or it's got all the range.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm happy to see those changes. And I'm happy to see, or I'm curious to see where it's going to go.
And that's specifically because the game right now is just very frustrating to get started again over and over.
Yeah, and especially with how easily you die. It's a good thing we don't have Death of the Spaceman in yet, because it's so easy to die. Just getting out of a hangar is already like a 50-50. Am I going to blow up? Yes or no?
Well, whenever we do start dying a lot less, do you think your view on this kind of a change would be different? Like, let's say you were dying an average of once every 3 weeks.
I would be really interested in seeing how it goes then, even if they implement it now. As far as I know, basically you don't lose anything, your character degrades, and you gotta make a new character, and basically you're the legacy of. It's not like you're gonna lose your ships or anything else, it's just you're gonna lose your character, as far as I understand. So in that case, I'm not too worried about it, even if they implement it right now.
You mean implement the idea that...
Death of the Spaceman.
Okay. But when it comes to changing the medical beds, like you said, the main reason that you're interested in it is because you die so much. If you didn't die so much, would you still want them to maintain the restrictions to medical beds?
I don't get that question too well, but yeah, we do die a lot, especially in bunkers, etc.
I more mean just if you were dying a lot less, would you care about this change?
Probably not as much.
Okay.
It's I would still really be happy, being able to respawn on something else, like an Ursa rover. Let's say doing bunker missions, quickly get an Ursa, park it there, and I die. Oh well, I spawned there and I go back in. But other than that, I don't really use medical beds that often. It's more that I spawn there because I died than anything else.
It's just the idea of spawning more easily is something you're interested in.
More more conveniently. So I don't have to travel from Arco to Microtech because I died on Microtech. It's now like I can have a medical ship or a medical Ursa standing there by the bunker, and it's like, yeah, well, I can just spawn here and go back in, retrieve my goods, instead of having to spend another 45 minutes.
How do you feel about logging on and off anywhere in the game as well?
I haven't really thought about it yet. In general, I like the bed logging, as in I'm somewhere in space and I bed log, and it's fine, it's done. But just logging off anywhere on any planet and logging back in there, I don't know. On one hand, I like it, and on the other hand, I haven't put too much thought in it because I always just go back to the city and I wake up in the city the next time I play. So I haven't really put thought in it.
So the feeling you have about the convenience of the respawn is very strictly about medical respawns, dying and restarting.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this slot and talking a little bit about this. I appreciate your feedback on it.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us on the greenhouse, man, and I will see you around, Dutch.
All right. See you, mate.
See you later. There's going to be a lot of different views on this system, and it's a big design change, I think. Not so much that like it wasn't planned, as they said on Star Citizen Live. It's something that they wanted to do, and I think it's not something that necessarily like breaks the game. They can definitely work around this and work with resources, but it is still a big move for such like a simple thing to happen. It does have a lot of like ramifications and kind of things that you can read into about it, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this develops long term. The next guest is coming in. Cold Gentleman, thanks for joining us. Hop on in whenever you're ready, and we'll have a chat about medical stuff. Hello, how are you doing? May be muted. Let me double check permissions here.
I was muted. How are you?
Okay, we're good. I almost just showed everybody our permission system. I'm good. Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in here. You got...
thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. You got things to say about medical? You feel strong about it?
I not strongly about it. No, I do feel. I like the changes so far, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I think anything that makes it a little less punishing is probably for the better when it comes to getting more people in the game and keeping it going.
So you're thinking more about what is the most popular option kind of thing rather than your own personal interest, or is it's also something that you would prefer the game followed?
I mean, I don't. It's not out of pure altruism for the game by any stretch. I certainly wouldn't mind the convenience of it at all, but also I think it's just indicative of the way some of the systems are going to go in the future.
You think they're going to start simplifying a lot of stuff?
I don't think it's necessarily simplifying it as so much as giving you an option to take the easier road. And isn't, you can respawn, but once Death of the Spaceman is in, it'll have repercussions and consequences.
So you're kind of hoping that they do this and make respawning easier, but also still add a lot of consequences in, so like people don't want to die.
I think that's the bit. So you can respawn, but you'll lose something. If you've got a pal around who can revive you, then you don't have to face those consequences. And you have the option either way. If it's gameplay you want to engage in with the medics and having someone come and doing the beacon and getting somebody out there to give you a hand, then you'll be rewarded for engaging in that kind of gameplay.
It does still reward people for bringing the stuff that they need in terms of the proper ship. It just limits... It kind of limits the ability of the ship. One of the things that I'm thinking is they have these larger medical ships like the Apollo or the Endeavor that are supposed to be sitting out in space as this kind of mobile respawn location. And I wonder if that'll be diminished by the amount of people who have their own respawn locations so readily available.
I'm pretty confident they'll endeavor to find whatever purpose for those ships that they'll have. I mean, it's in their best interest to make sure that the people who have bought those stay happy and stay satisfied and get to enjoy them, all that kind of good stuff.
True, but Johnny FPS guy doesn't like getting injuries during his FPS training and thinks that it should be easier to solve his own injuries. Screw your Cutlass Red.
Well, Johnny FPS guy can respawn in a Nursa and then also lose his character and have to start all over again, right?
Perhaps, but Johnny FPS might not like that either. You know, I feel pain for Star Citizen because they constantly have to answer for things that they're trying to do for gameplay purposes while also contending with the demands of players that just straight up want, you know, that gameplay goes against what they're doing. Medical goes against FPS. Mining might go against, I don't know, FPS. It's like it feels like a losing battle all the time when it comes to some of these things.
I totally see what you mean. I do. I think it's the nature of the beast of a game that's still in the development stage as it is. As unique as this is, compared to everything else out there, as far as where we're playing it and what time in the development we've been playing it.
How long have you been following?
I've been following since it's announced, but I didn't build a computer until last summer, so I've only been on since October, I think.
Okay. So you didn't get to play before they had like the medical system?
No. I came in at 320, but and it was a good time to come in from everything that I've followed over the years. It felt like it was the right time.
Yeah, it's hit a bit of a. It's been a little rough, 318, and now the wait for 323 was kind of rough, but yeah, it's a good time because things are definitely starting to speed up. And as you can see, there's the conversations now are a lot more about these types of things, design changes and the gameplay that makes the game matter, as opposed to like, oh god, I don't know, any number of topics that didn't really matter that much over the last 6 years. It's a good time to be jumping in for sure. Welcome.
Hey, thank you very much. It's been a blast, and the guild has been great.
Any other thoughts about medical gameplay where you maybe want to see it expand to, or are you interested at all in it, or are you just kind of is it a thing that you have to deal with as a person going about other types of gameplay?
No, I like it quite a bit, and I like the changes. Anything that fleshes anything that fleshes any of our systems out just a little bit more, I'm very interested in and excited to see where it goes. Again, I like it, and I like having more options as a player. You know, it makes it less of a slog to get in.
That's fair. I definitely see how that's gonna be something that sounds a lot better to a lot more players, and I hope that this is I really do hope that this is one of those things where they're making it a straightforward thing that makes it easy to understand and make use of and benefit from, but then they add in the things that make it something that you just don't want to have to like pay for or use resources for or something. Because the consequence of death, I think, is a big selling point of this game for a lot of people.
I agree, absolutely, and again, as these systems get more fleshed out, we'll start to see exactly what those systems are going to look like in a bigger picture sort of sense, and it's neat to see it inch that way.
Yeah. All right, Cole. Thank you so much for coming in here and sharing your thoughts. Any last thoughts you wanted to give before hopping off?
None whatsoever. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Have a good day. All right, so somebody asked what Death of a Spaceman is. To put it into not super complex terms, Death of a Spaceman is basically a pseudo-permadeath mechanic where you have some number of lives. I think it's probably something 7 or more. And these lives can only be lost through catastrophic damage. You take a railgun to the body. You get smashed by a spaceship crashing. there is a bomb dropped right next to you. Like really bad things need to happen for you to completely just die and not just get like bad injuries and be crippled. When you do die, you don't actually lose your character. Your character is regenerated and you take some hits. Reputation loss, might get a permanent injury and need a cybernetic limb. You might get some scarring on your character model. You will probably have to pay for life insurance or for being revived. And just in general, respawning and dying are supposed to be some fairly hefty losses, which is why that Nursa trailer just did not make sense. But after you go through those 7 lives, and there will be ways to add more lives, there will be ways to possibly add more lives to that counter, or maybe somehow, I don't know, make your life last longer. Whatever it might be, there will be ways to do that. And once you get to the end of that round of lives, all 7 of them or however many you get, your character is gone. You lose your character. It is a permadeath for that character, and your stuff all gets passed on to your next of kin, another character that you've designed in the game. It's not losing a ton of progress. What it does is it wipes out a lot of your reputation, right? You're the kid of this person. You're no longer that person, so you have to make up a lot of that rep back, which is your main progression. You lose a lot of money from inheritance fees or something like that. You probably have to like move your house or something. There will be a lot of consequences, but the idea is that you will lose that character and have to start over with a new character in the fiction. All of this basically to add importance to death and consequences for it. So there's going to be a balance between what they're doing now and Death of a Spaceman. We'll have to see how that goes. Next guest, though, I'm sure has plenty to speak on about this. You guys remember him from a gameplay video I did earlier this year, where we did our own medical rescue, which is his main form of gameplay. So I'm interested in hearing what AAK has to say about the changes to this content. Welcome in, my friend. Good to see you.
Hey, Tomato. The thing is working?
Yes, it is. How was your trip around Europe?
Oh, amazing. Absolutely amazing. Of course, first 2 days back in Florida, and I got sick because this place is awful.
Because Florida.
Yeah.
Was it? Are you sure it wasn't a side effect from the medical gameplay updates?
I mean, the number of messages I saw on Spectrum and in Discord saying, "Hey, sorry about your game loop, pal," was very confusing coming back after, testing the EPTU for a bit and then never knowing that this was going to be a thing. I mean, I had some indication because maybe the second patch of the EPTU cycle, personal transport beacons just miraculously disappeared. And there hasn't been a word on that. And they're still not back. So I had some inkling that, I don't know, the appearance that this players are being herded away from using beacons. CIG allegedly does everything based on data and feedback. I don't know where the feedback comes from because I read Spectrum and didn't see anything about this for the last 3 years. And then the data, I mean, if you take away a beacon, if you don't fix them when issue council reports are confirmed, if you don't make small changes that could make the experience for both sides of the equation, rescuer or sender, or if you relegate the notification for beacons going out to the side of the screen where your players can't accept it with left bracket. I mean, this is going to move people away from using them, and then the data will reflect what you want it to reflect. Not that it matters anyway because we can't see it, but so yeah, I don't know about this change. I think anything that takes away from the actual medical gameplay, which it exists. There was a guy in in-game chat earlier who said, "Oh, there is no medical gameplay. You don't do anything." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And just imagine all of it. I guess it's fun for a lot of people. I mean, I get that people don't want to wait. The trap thing is negligible. I'm not even going to touch on that. That was a 3.16 introductory thing. Like that's just not really a thing anymore.
What was that?
The beacons being trapped. That's such a rare thing. The waiting is the real thing. Yeah. People not showing up or taking 45 minutes to get out there. And that could have been easily corrected with just a beacon resend feature. Hey, if you're the guy who, or girl is coming out to get you and they're taking 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, no response in in-game chat, and you want to resend the beacon, oh, hit this button, boop, and it goes out to the server again for someone else to take it. That was a low-hanging fruit change they could have made to help reduce the amount of time players have to wait. Maybe it goes out to someone closer, maybe it goes out to someone who's paying attention or is more prepared for that type of gameplay. So I think that the issues a lot of people have with using beacons could have been reduced through small changes, but I don't think this was one of them. I mean, also, come on, you've turned medical ships into just respawn points. You could have done that with anything.
Yeah,
you might as well take the label off the outside. Like, what are you doing here? And I'm not talking about Death of a Spaceman. I don't care about that. I don't think that'll ever come to fruition.
Really?
I think these guys figured it out. The only way for them to make a real profit long term is to start diluting. You cannot maintain the integrity of any of the original visions from years ago and expect to have the type of profit that you see major mass marketed games making. And this is the way you go. You put the glint on the sniper rifle, you put the crosshair out there so people know which way the bullets come out of the gun. You make mobile respawn points. This is all telltale signs that these guys are thrown in the towel. And
But it sounds like you're coming from the perspective that profit is their goal.
right, and it should be. They're a company.
They're not a company with investors, though. I mean, this is a company that's driven by somebody's desire to do something. Well, at least that's how it started. But they've never really been a high profit company.
Maybe they changed their mind. Maybe they need more people to sign up and buy more ships. I mean, I really shouldn't have delved into the financial stuff because I haven't followed it enough closely to really form an opinion that's worth anything on it. But it sure seems like it's just go in a certain direction. And I feel like this is just one more thing. And the idea that, well, we need more, death is too punishing. Oh, for new players. We're all new players. We all approached this game and stuck around because it was interesting with all of the jank, with all of the bugs, with all of the crap that players have had to deal with. Long before I ever started playing the game, people stuck around and more accounts are made every day, every week. Players want to play this as it is. So why do we need to make things easier or more convenient or the greatest thing, reduce the tedium? Oh, I died to a lot of bugs. Oh, we'll make mobile respawn points. That'll fix it. No, fix the bugs. And people will die to less bugs and feel like the game is less punishing or less tedious.
Right, but people always say, people always say fix the bugs. We know that's just not going to happen until the systems are better.
Right. And I get it. It's a work in progress and it's a Herculean effort, and I know they've got a lot on their plate, but come on. You've got this. Go ahead.
What if during this change they had come out and said, hey, we're making this change because we're shifting the focus of medical gameplay to include more gameplay. It's just going to be less focused around the respawning mechanics. What if they were like, hey, while we're doing this, we're also bringing in broken bones. You can set bones. You can you can create cures for specific poisons or toxicity levels. Is that if they were still saying, yeah, we might be doing this to change respawning and that stuff, but medical gameplay isn't necessarily getting diminished. It's just shifting its focus. Would that be good, or would you still feel the same way?
I think the same issues that people have with beacons and the same people who are cheering this change are the same people who would not want to be on the receiving end of any of that type of gameplay.
But that's not
because
their call.
That's locking the player. Right, of course. But that's largely the complaint, is that, well, I don't want to have to call for help because they might take a while, or in the rare occasion, they might steal my pledge pants. If you're now forcing which I don't necessarily agree with either, is forcing a player to I don't know, undergo surgery. You know, I don't think the player should necessarily have an extended down period either, where they're, you know, fading in and out, or really can't do anything, because for that other person that may not be gameplay. But there are a lot of people who enjoy the beacon side of gameplay, and I'd like to see those people, myself included. Obviously, I have a vested interest in this because I enjoy it. But I'd like to see them not drowned out by a sudden discovery of data and feedback that nobody's ever seen on Spectrum in any sort of meaningful amount. So adding those more complex elements of medical gameplay, I mean, would be cool, but I think that would be more directed towards NPCs when they get all of that together. I don't think they would levy that on other players, because it may take more time to get a player back in the fight, and some players may not like that.
But they're already doing that with injuries.
Yeah, I guess, but right now, I mean, and again, like I don't delve much into the speculation, because I mean, I was told to my face at a Bar Citizen that fuel beacons were going to be out by the end of the year, which was at that time
fuel beacons.
It's a few months. The Starfare's broken again. There's no fuel beacons. There's no towing beacons for the SRV. I mean, the ways that players can organically engage with one another for game loops of their choosing are limited, and becoming more limited now that you're just giving people the agency to avoid anything they want.
I would say maybe becoming more limited in some ways, but the game overall is definitely becoming more interactive between players. I mean, just in the past year, we've seen salvage, cooperative cargo stuff. Engineering is coming in pretty soon. It definitely, like, I agree.
Can't even speak to that. I don't know anything about salvage and all that, so I'll take your word for it. I don't know.
I agree with you that some of the areas of the game are definitely taking moves that feel like they go against the grain of a lot of the other stuff that's been happening over the years, though.
Yeah, it's. I mean, for me, it's just a simple thing. It's just a simple thing, which may not be simple for CIG, and like I've said before, we all play a game to enjoy something, and you find that thing that you enjoy in the game, and you jealously defend it when it comes under attack. And I didn't like the C8R even coming out. I thought that was the first shot across the bow, because if you give players a ship that they can wedge in the bunker door, when they get a tier 3 injury, they hobble back to the elevator, go up, heal themselves, and go right back down. Before that ship, they get a tier 3 injury, they'd get a tier 2 injury, and they would die. And they were either backspace, which eventually may become a bad thing to do, or the hold M. And someone like myself, hopefully in a fast ship, hopefully cognizant that a player is waiting on the other end, will respond as quickly as possible. And they'll get their gameplay. And again, it's two sides of the coin, and you know, players like me who do this full time have to consider how the players on the receiving end want the game to go to.
Yeah, I get that. That's the hardest part. You got a player on the other side of gameplay when it comes to player and player interaction, thinking about both of their gameplays and how they can both be fun and sustainable. It doesn't sound like a fun thing to figure out, and I hope that they do find a way to still make that a reality in medical. I know that this feels like it's kind of shutting the door on that gameplay for you, but there's a lot of stuff they still haven't figured out that I do hope brings some of it back. I think that we should have heard more about medical gameplay by now.
Yes, especially with the Apollo on the horizon, but the fact that they shelved personal transport beacons completely without a word, the fact that they've relegated the notification for medical rescue or assistance beacons to the side screen, which was always a big problem, which is how many notifications we have up top. Well, beacons are a mission too. The fact that they've never made them shareable, the fact that they never fixed the marker issues that appeared at the end of 320 and into 321 for rescue beacons and personal transport beacons. just suggests a pattern here of non-importance for that slice of the gameplay pie. And I hope that's not a continuing trend. I hope medical ships just aren't these giant red targets now because they're a respawn point.
I certainly do hope that that the dang it, what did you just say? that completely slipped my mind. Nope, I lost it.
It was a chicken parmesan recipe, but now you're not going to get it.
Yeah, that was. Oh, it sounded really good too. Dang it. No, I'm hopeful though that the gameplay they can figure something out. I think my biggest hope is that the beacon system is just like the star map or the interaction system or whatever. It's outdated. It's done. They need to remove it and replace it with an actual player makeable mission system. That's high hopes, but it's what I hope for these kinds of things.
Yeah, there could be all sorts of beacons. Beacons for food.
Beacons for
supplies.
Yeah.
I mean, giving the players the ability to create their own gameplay is a fantastic idea, in my opinion. If giving them the ability to respawn now is part of increasing player agency in the game, then beacons should have been on the forefront of that, allowing players to interact with each other beyond just making parties or beyond, only using chat or being in orgs or Discord or what have you. I think it was a missed opportunity and something that these guys have not mentioned one bit. And that's all we want at the end of the day for anything. I mean, I'm not asking about the Banu Merchant Man. I'm asking about something that was there and then just disappeared. Just give me something, Just hold me, Xylo, and tell me it's going to be okay.
Well, we will see where it goes. AAK, thank you so much for joining me for this, man. I hope the gameplay moves in a direction that you're looking into.
Thanks, Tomato.
Appreciate your thoughts on it, man. Have a good one.
Bye.
Alrighty, and our next, I wanted to have AAK on here because he is the main medical person that I know. We ran a mission together like that, and I know that this kind of stuff really affects his gameplay. And you'll hear the same kind of sentiment for a lot of different things. It's similar to how people feel about the combat system changing with master modes, and they're kind of the gameplay that worked for them but maybe doesn't work for the majority of the community gets changed, and it feels kind of like that's diminishing your gameplay. This is definitely that time of the development of this game. I can even see something like that where it's not my main gameplay or anything, but like bed logging is something that I'm very interested in hearing more about. I really don't have a torch lit about it at this point, but I'd like to know more of the details about them, because it does seem like some of the changes they're making are meant to lower the bar of entry to this game, but it leaves them a lot of opportunity to build in hurdles that make those things still more difficult for folks who are getting more in depth. So it really comes down to, what are you guys going to follow all of these changes up with? And I hope that they communicate that to us a little bit effectively this summer, so that we can know how to set our sights long term. I think that roadmap to 1.0 might give us some more insight on that, but ultimately this will be a communication thing for sure. Our final guest, it looks like, is Balton from the community. Come on in, my friend. Tell me what you think about the medical gameplay changes coming up. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good. You are you a medic by trade?
I am a medic by trade, yes.
And how do you feel?
15 years in the medical field, and I am very disheartened. The game loop in this game for medical play has been a little challenging, and I share a lot of sentiment with AA, with a lot of his opinions on how it's going and the direction that CIG is taking with this. With the new Ursa rover coming out, it really kind of hurts the ability for the advancement of the individual, like, onboard medic. Working in tactical medicine for many years, working with police departments and different things like that, that was my gameplay. That's something that I challenged myself to do. I'm not an FPS player by any means of the imagination, but getting in with a group of people in an FPS gameplay, and being their onboard medic has always been something that intrigues me. It's fun to do. But with these new beacon or these new outcrops that we can bring right in, it kind of takes away from that game loop. It really does. I mean, people can just, oh, I have a tier 3 injury, I'm just gonna backspace over to my Ursa that's parked right outside and go from there. Because we go to a distribution center, you can drop all your gear into the local inventory, heal yourself, respawn, put all your gear back on, and then you're back fresh again. So for me, it takes away from the ability for the individual medic to be able to prioritize and take care of their team.
Does it feel like this will ruin medical gameplay for, like, if you're a medic and, for instance, in GII, do you feel like it makes that a worse experience too?
I think it does. I really do. There's too much more, and there's more room for them to have that ability to have multiple different types of ships available, and multiple different outsources to go. So, in reality, a medic has really kind of fallen to the wayside. It's not needed. So it takes away from my ability to play that game loop and actually enjoy it. So yeah, it's I think it's going in a direction that I'm not overly enthused about. I kind of get where they're going with it. They're trying to simplify things and gear it towards a majority as opposed to a minority. And I hate to say that the medics are the minority, but we really are.
Yeah. That's the problem with these. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, it's the problem with, I guess this is kind of a recurring theme tonight, but just that for every piece of gameplay, there is some other gameplay that's kind of opposing it. And majority of players are doing more FPS stuff rather than more medic stuff, so they want CIG to make the FPS experience better. But ultimately, I think the medical experience being deep and difficult and causing trouble with FPS wouldn't be so bad if people knew that they could, maybe, like, if you went down, this wouldn't work, but if you went down, you could choose to just kind of respawn and an NPC would take your place. But that wouldn't make sense. It would have to be dead. You'd have to die for that to work. I don't know. I don't know how they could get away with making this medical gameplay work in a player interaction without having a player that is relatively taken out of the gameplay for a while. That's how I expected it to go, but clearly that's something that they're a little worried about here. Do you have any ideas about that?
I mean, they've essentially taken away the need for having a medic with this game loop. I don't know where CIG is going to go with this. I have an idea. I think they're just going to go away, keep the medical side of things to the wayside, and that's going to be like a limited scope. And when I say limited, I mean extremely limited, because with these close by beacons that they can use respawn points, they can essentially gear it towards the individuals that just want to do FPS. They don't want to worry about, I got a tier 2 injury, I can barely move, I need to have a medic here so I can get to the point where I can actually be survivable before I can get to another location. So they want to just kind of respawn themselves, and I get where you're going with, like, the NPC being there, taking its place, but then that takes away from the other team. So if you're doing a team effort, like two separate teams opposing each other, now you've taken out one guy, and now you have an NPC that spawns in for itself. I think that would kind of not be a great thing.
No, it wouldn't even work. Because if the NPC gets revived, what happens to the player?
Right. They just
get
SOL.
dragged back in there. I don't know. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's. I think they said this before. It seems they're trying to lower the bar of entry, but I do hopefully believe that they have to. Like, is not necessarily a game design thing. I think that they are obligated to make sure that the medical category of gameplay in Star Citizen is complex enough to justify the ships that they've created, to justify the systems they've put into place with injuries, with the health app, with all of these different things that tie into medical, all the way down to like insurance. I think that they owe it to the community to still do that. We've got Endeavors, we've got Apollos, we got Cutlass Reds, P8Rs, or whatever it's called, the Pisces, all kinds of things that are medically focused, and I just can't see them wiping all of that out along with this. It feels to me, the more I kind of talk and think about this, that this is something that they want to do, but also follow up with some other changes. The disappointment that I have is that they haven't communicated those other changes effectively.
I agree with you. I mean, the communication for them for the medical gameplay has been non-existent. I mean, they did that interesting video for the Ursa, and I was like, okay, well, that defeats the whole purpose of me playing the game.
It's a weird one.
Yeah, I'm like,
that was
okay,
a weird one.
I guess that's just odd. But I mean, it is what it is. It got, I'm sure, it brought in sales. Multiple people probably bought it. I know I'm one of them. I'm an Apollo owner too, so I want to play the game loop, and I'm hoping that CIG realizes, or even has a plan to move forward and institute a real medical gameplay with, you know, the capital size ships that they have coming out for medical gameplay, like the Endeavor, like you said. I'm just hoping that we see those traditional injury profiles that we actually have to provide advanced care to, you know, whether it's this person has a compound fracture to their leg, or they have an open fracture to their arm, or whatever the circumstances are. And now they got to go to a surgical suite and they got to get repaired, or it has to be amputated. This is, of course, more advanced gameplay, and it would require individuals to actually who want to play it. And I know there's a good group of people who want to do that, but at the same point, is it marketable?
Yeah. But I think a lot of us joined in on Star Citizen because stuff that wasn't necessarily widely marketable, but was interesting to the game. And the medical is a thing. It's got to be a thing. From the health app that they've added to the fact that you can drug overdose and get poisoned, and like you said, you can break your leg and stuff. All this needs to have a system that backs it and makes it worthwhile. And if they build up this huge injury system, but they don't bring it home with a full medical system to back it up, then you just kind of have this wasted injury system that doesn't really get used. Besides just like people kind of running into debuffs every once in a while and being like, what is this?
Yes. It's challenging right now. I like the direction that they were starting with it in 3.22, and then they moved away from it in 3.23, and it kind of gave you the gut punch of like, wow, are they gearing this towards the players who want to play this stuff, or are they gearing it towards what's going to make them more money?
Well, only time will tell. Let's see what they're doing in a year's time from now. Unfortunately, the Apollo is off the shelf of being worked, or it is on the shelf now from being worked, so we might not actually see anything really all that interesting announced about medical for a while, but I hope that they do something to follow up this year. This would not be a topic to just kind of let lie. But we'll see what they say. Any final thoughts?
No, I really do hope CIG kind of gets a hint with this. I know there is quite a few people on the community that have voiced their concerns and opinions about this. I really hope that CIG takes a foundational stand on this and makes us all regret the words we're speaking now.
Well, thanks for joining me for this one. Appreciate you, Baltzen. Thanks for being a part of the garden.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers. All right, y'all. That is Final Quest guest. And that is our podcast for today, talking about the medical changes. I see a question here, or rather a point about generating injuries from getting regenerated. That's actually part of the lore part of the Death of a Spaceman mechanic is that when you're getting regenerated in one of those lives that you've lost, you actually retain some of the trauma that your body got in that previous life. It's sort of a memory, because the way it works is you're basically recording yourself down, and then when you die, those injuries or whatever happens when you die kind of gets overwritten onto your recording or something like that. That's why they've developed things like cybernetics, and they're working on other stuff like scarring. If you go and look at all this kind of stuff, is stuff that they've been doing specifically because Death of a Spaceman will lead to you probably not having limbs after your first few guests or your first few deaths. I just read that message. Thank you guys though for being here for the greenhouse. Hope you enjoyed it. Like I said, we're going to try and do these mainly when there's a big topic that it feels like the community really wants to get in and chat about. So the next one maybe we'll do around 323.2 whenever modularity or not modularity, the cargo stuff is coming in. I think that'll be a big topic. It'll probably be a little while until we figure out where this is all going, but as you know, Star Citizen be Star Citizen, and we're all kind of dragged along for the ride. I hope that they've got good plans for medical, because I do agree with what Bolton and AAK were saying. There needs to be a segment of the game for every profession, but CIG needs to figure out how to make those factor into the ultimate game and make it a worthwhile experience for everybody. Not an easy challenge, not an easy task at all. But folks, I hope you enjoyed this chat. Thank you so much for being with me today, whether you were here for the ships and feature news before or for this good old podcast. It's always a good time. I'll be live again with you on Monday, probably to play the game because we've done all this chatting over the weekend, and we'll be getting right back into the goods next week. Maybe we'll take some ships out, do some Invictus stuff. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Either way, I appreciate you all. I hope you enjoyed your time here. Man, good day, y'all. Hope you had fun. I will see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Cheers. You're all amazing people. Love you. Bye.